Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello. Folks, I know it's a little early, but we got to send our thoughts and prayers out to the Cleveland Browns. They got a game coming this Thursday against the Denver Broncos, and it's I'm going to read you a quote from Von Miller regarding his matchup against the battered Cleveland Browns offensive line. Quote, "I don't know who the tackle I'm going against is, but I'm going to kill him." Close quote.
You know, if Pad's dropping that sports knowledge on you, you are listening to the sports edition of the ODPH podcast, and we want to continue this conversation with you after the show. So make sure to swing on over to odphpodcast.com. Join in on the social media accounts. All the links are right there. Check out the TeePublic store. Parlay Points, the new blogs are going on. The directory where you can download every single ODPH podcast episode you need to on your favorite podcast platform, and so much more. And always remember to use the hashtag ODPHpod. So, Pat, after that note, we have to kick off this episode by recapping the week that was in the NFL before there is a slaughter going down in Cleveland next week. So, as we do each and every time, see, I'm that wound up, man. Von Miller scares me.
No, he scares me too. He's the type of guy that, like, I see him in a crowded room, I'm running the other way.
Yeah, because he's definitely wound up for this, and they got a lot to be talking about too. We'll get to their game in just a little bit. But as we say, we kick off each and every edition of the ODPH Sports Edition during football season, recapping the week that was in the NFL. And now it's time to talk those locks and leaps. So, Pat, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to start with my lock. I chose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles, which they did by the final score of 28-22. Tom Brady, 34-42 for 297 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jalen Hurts, 12 of 26 for 115 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And I got a note, I saw a stat that almost made me consider switching my pick on this one.
Oh.
Because I saw the night of the game that Tom Brady going into that game was like 0-10 when it came to covering the spread, when they were favored or something like that.
It's a weird stat he's got with the lines.
So I almost didn't do it, but I'm like, no, wait. Even if he doesn't get him by the spread, I'll still get the win. And I was right. So now Tom Brady is like 0-11 in terms of beating the spread.
You don't go to bet on Tom Brady for the points. You go to bet on just to win, because that's all he does. And dare I say, Tampa Bay is looking like the Super Bowl contenders that we all think they are.
It's hard to see a chink in the armor right now.
It really is. I thought they would have a little bit of misfire here. I thought they would win outright, but this game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And to see that Brady was struggling a little bit, I mean, they did jump out to that early lead, but it seemed like when Philly started getting the ball moving in the second half, I thought Brady was having a little bit of problems. You did see him jawing a little bit with some of the players.
Oh, sure.
But he kept his composure like we knew he was going to, and really came away with a strong win here, setting the Bucs up being 5-1 now, and being the team to beat in the NFC, which is strong. It's a strong win for him.
Oh, it is. And I'm looking at their schedule. I would say their toughest, the bulk of their tough matchups are behind them now. And I'm going to come out right out and say it. They've got a cupcake schedule here because they've already played Dallas, good team, the Rams, Patriots, and coming up, they've got Chicago, should win that.
Yeah.
New Orleans should win that. Bye week 9. Then they've got Washington, should win that. Giants, Indianapolis, yeah, they should win that. Atlanta, yeah. Atlanta's going to see him on the field and collectively shit their pants.
Oh, it'll be deja vu.
The only tough matchup I can see is week 14, they're playing Buffalo. So that should be an interesting matchup, although we know Tom Brady's record against the Buffalo Bills.
Sadly, facts.
Then he's got New Orleans again, Carolina, Jets, and Carolina. So, outside of that Buffalo game, which you never know, it's a cupcake schedule.
Yeah, there's only a couple games I could see maybe, and I'm going to stress maybe be an upset. Indianapolis is the most boring team in football, but they do win, and they do it very ugly, and they do hang with the better teams. So that one I could see possibly being an upset, depending on what happened. And New Orleans is division. That's the only one that I say maybe, because Sean Payton does know this team rather well.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the only two that really jump out at me to be worried about. I don't think there's anything to worry about with Atlanta because, like you said, the minute Tom Brady steps on the field, everybody's going to have a flashback to the Super Bowl. And enough said there. Mm-hmm. So for Tampa Bay to be putting on this road win, it was truly a big statement win for them as well. Because obviously Philly is a tough environment to play in no matter where you go for sports.
No love lost for Tom Brady.
No, definitely not. And to see that Fournette had a big game too with 81-2, that's a huge thing that I think he's going to need to rely on going into these later games. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's been, I don't want to say all on him for the most part, but he is the one that really is dictating the offense, obviously being the quarterback.
Yeah.
But now that he has a solid running game that's really starting to pick up some steam, as we've seen over the past couple games, that is so much of a feather in his cap.
Yeah, and it's stats from the running game that like aren't exactly sexy. Mm-hmm. You know, they're not going to jump out as you go, oh my God, this is an MVP performance, but still it makes a difference when, Fournette averaged 3.7 yards a run. That's not anything huge, but like that still adds up after a while, and it just kind of keeps the defense off balance with you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. So if Brady can keep this going into the later games here, down the stretch, they're going to be in prime position to really make another run back to the Super Bowl. And for right now, they are the team to beat in the NFC.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's another one that gained some steam, and we'll be talking about a little later in the segment. But as I'm looking at it right now, I mean, there's Tampa Bay, maybe one other team, and then there's a little bit of a drop-off.
Uh-huh.
And for Philly, Philly, where do we go from here?
I got no love lost for them.
Oh, I know. I know you don't. But I will say this. Jalen Hurts did what he could for this game.
Yeah.
And Philly is not a good team. I don't care how you want to spin it. I understand after week one, obviously, everybody's thinking Super Bowl with them, but they have been very humbled.
Uh-huh.
And they're going to be looking up against the best team in the NFC East for a long time. Yes, I am talking about Dallas. I know I just heard a lot of pops coming from Brooklyn about that one, but it's true.
Oh, no, it's facts.
It's facts. But for Philly, the one thing I think you can take some solace in if you really want to see something here is Hurts definitely was hanging with Brady for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like early on, it was a little struggle. I'm not going to lie about that. But in the second half, he definitely seemed to be a little more composed.
Yeah.
And moving the ball a little bit more with some ease. That's kind of the only takeaway I can have from this. Nobody else on Philly is really jumping out and scaring me for like an offensive threat to him. I mean, Devontae Smith, I think, is doing what he can.
He's a rookie.
But he's a rookie, and there's only so many times a rookie will jump out and take over games. So like we see this with Jamar Chase in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to be like him. And Devontae Smith is doing what he can, and he's starting to slowly develop that connection with Hurts. I think they just got to get some more time together, but they need a lot more help with Philly to really get that next step.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the run game. Their leading rusher was Miles Sanders, who had 9 carries for 56 yards.
Yeah.
Like, that's not anything fantastic. And then their receiving core, they had Quez Watkins, who the hell are you? Mm-hmm. 3 catches, 44 yards, no touchdowns. You mentioned Devontae Smith, who had 2 catches, 31 yards, no touchdowns. Zach Ertz, who's no longer with Philly, he got traded to Arizona.
Yeah.
4 catches, 29 yards, 1 touchdown. So, like, okay, you got to take him out of the equation. There's really nobody there that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a solid guy on their offense.
Exactly. And even with Ertz going to Arizona, I understand Arizona is better 6-0 right now, but I still give the tip of the hat to Tom Brady. And you can't deny what they're doing out there in Tampa. Tampa's, except for that one fluke game, they're really putting a statement win on this division. But that being said, it's going to make for some interesting football coming down the stretch. For Philly, I think right now is let's see what you have, and it's clearly shifting now to a rebuilding year.
Yeah, it really is, just because I'm looking at their schedule. They've got the Raiders coming up this next week, and then they've got Detroit, the Chargers, Broncos, Saints, Giants, Jets, bye week in Week 14. And then to close out the year, you've got all divisional games with Washington, Giants, Washington, and Dallas.
Yeah. So it's not going to be an easy stretch for Philly moving forward, but this year the bar is set very low. So I'm not sitting there thinking they should be contending. I mean, obviously, we said in the preview show that if anybody came out of the NFC East, it'd be by luck. Obviously, one team has decided to take a step ahead of everybody, and that's Dallas. So for Philly, you're kind of almost playing with house money here and just kind of seeing what you have in the future moving forward.
So yeah, you're not going to get anywhere this year just because as good as Dallas is. And then, with all the other teams in the NFC, there's no way you're getting a wild card spot. So at this point, it's just assess your pieces, see what you got, and plan for next year.
Yeah. So nothing else really too much to say about that game anymore.
No.
Next up on the docket.
Yeah, it's the second best team in the NFC. I chose as my leap, which was the Arizona Cardinals, because they were shockingly underdogs on the road at Cleveland, even though they were undefeated. And Arizona did win by the final score of 37-14. Kyler Murray, 20 of 30 for 229 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Baker Mayfield, 19 of 28 for 234 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Arizona is 6-0. Mm-hmm. And rightfully so. They are a great team. But when you see them play, do you instantly think Super Bowl contender?
Not right now, no. I mean, I've seen way too many teams, especially Peyton Manning-led teams, that go on an absolute run to start the season, and then it just falls apart at the end of the season.
Yeah, for me, I watch them, and I understand they're 6-0, and they're playing very lights-out football.
Yeah.
But for this game, I honestly thought the Browns were going to come back.
Especially they had that what was it, the Hail Mary at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Where Baker heaved it up to Peoples-Jones, and called them like, oh, we might have a momentum swing here. Turns out, no.
No, it didn't happen. Obviously, the Browns were hit very hard with injuries, so
yeah,
that does play a factor. But for Arizona, I'm watching them, and I'm thinking maybe they can contend, sure. But when I see them compared to Tampa Bay, there's just something about that mystique that I just go, this is Brady's to lose. It's not to say that the Cardinals can't beat Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. They fully can. But I'm just saying, from what we've seen thus far, and I know you got their schedule handed.
Yeah, so they've played Tennessee, Minnesota, Jacksonville, the Rams, the Niners, and now Cleveland.
So there's been literally a split mix of quality teams there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So like I say, for Tampa, in comparison, I think they played a little stronger.
A little bit. It's kind of tomato, potato type of thing. Just because I'm pulling up their schedule right now. They have played Dallas, Atlanta, the Rams, Patriots, Dolphins, and Eagles.
So I think from them, yeah, I would say it's almost about even.
I'll say if you're talking just like good teams, Tampa Bay has played 2 with Dallas and then the Rams. Patriots are 50-50. You can put it.
I think Patriots are a lot better than people are giving credit for.
But then you look at the Cardinals. They played Tennessee, the Rams, and then maybe you can throw Minnesota in there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I say, you're looking at the strength of schedule right now. That's why I say I give Tampa Bay the edge about it.
Yeah.
It's close, and I'm not trying to discredit the Cardinals, but let's be honest. They're playing at such a high level right now, and they're going in and doing what they need to. Their offense is clicking right now, but Murray's shoulder is starting to worry me a little bit.
Sure.
And I think that for a young team, they're going to have to really know how to close out some games and really make sure that they put the stamp of a win on games, and they're going to have to going down the stretch. Like that's the biggest thing for a young team to do, because right now, I mean, everybody's winning, everybody's clicking, sure.
Oh yeah.
But when you're really going to start facing some tough teams that are not injury plagued, like the Browns were, because the Browns, I mean, I'll stand by my pick that I've had them going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I know right now it's kind of iffy.
Yeah, I'll say Baker potentially might not play Thursday. He was banged up after the game. The Cleveland Browns at this point are probably going to be taking people off the street for their running back, just because they're down so many running backs. It's not looking all that good for Cleveland, but there's always hope.
There's always hope, and I'm sure that they'll be scrapping in these games moving forward.
Yeah.
It's just for where we thought that they would be, and I thought that this was going to be a lot closer game as we've seen. It wasn't. And it's just to say that I think Arizona definitely put up some points.
Yeah.
Obviously 37 is no joke. But for a team that was decimated with injuries, that I thought that they would put up a lot more in that second half instead of just almost coasting 23-14 from the first half. Like that's where I'm just kind of saying where my point is with this. I think Arizona has been a very good surprise this year.
Oh, absolutely.
They're playing solid on both sides of the ball. They're very aggressive. They're fun to watch. But am I willing to say they're the best team in the NFC right now?
Nah, no.
I can't. Like, I want to.
I think everyone knew Arizona would be pretty decent. I don't think anyone saw them being 6-0, just because we know Kyler Murray's pretty good. You look at their receiving core with A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins were both very good. But then you look at the running game, and the running game on paper at the start was nothing that was like, ooh, sexy running core. You know, James Conner was their leading rusher with this game with 16 carries, 71 yards, no touchdowns, and been great for my fantasy team. But it's nothing huge, you know, and that defense is obviously very good with J.J. Watt. They got Chandler Jones and everything else they got going on defense. So I think they've got it working for them, and I think the thing that's going to benefit them is, you know, they're in first place. The Rams are right behind them at 5-1. And then you've got the Niners who are behind them at 2-3, and then you've got the Seahawks behind them.
Yeah.
And Seahawks are obviously without Russell Wilson for a couple of weeks with his injury. You know, so I think it's going to, assuming they don't have a stumble and go on a mid-season losing streak, they should be pretty good to take the division.
Oh, I think Arizona's going to take the division outright. I really do, barring any crazy injuries happening. But maybe it's the run game that is still just putting that big cloud over my head about them. Mm-hmm. You know, without saying that they're the best team in football.
Yeah, I mean, because I'll read off who has credit for their rushing core here and see if, and you at home can play the game too. If any of these guys strike fear into your heart, if you're a defensive coordinator, James Conner.
Yeah.
Chase Edmonds.
No.
Jonathan Ward.
No.
Rondale Moore.
No.
Kyler Murray.
Yes.
Colt McCoy.
No.
Fun fact, he's still in the league. You know, but that's everyone who got credit for a rushing. Colt McCoy had -3 yards, but still everyone in the box score who got credit for rushing for Arizona. Like, as good as their receiving core is, and it's about to get a little bit better with Zach Ertz coming down. He could obviously he couldn't play Sunday just because of the turnaround and not enough days. You know, but adding Zach Ertz is going to be huge for them just because now Kyler doesn't have to throw deep downfield all day to AJ and DeAndre. He can check down to Zach Ertz.
It's a smart move for Arizona. I love the move.
Oh, I do too.
I think it's huge. And especially, here's another telling point, too. We know Kyler Murray is a mobile quarterback. He only got 6 yards this game?
Yeah.
I mean, Cleveland kept him in check. But it's kudos to Arizona. I'm not trying to take anything away from this win. Mm-hmm. But I think when I was hearing after the game, everybody was saying this is the Super Bowl winner right here, hands down. I'm looking at him and I'm going,
it could happen.
It's possible, sure. But what I want to see is all around, are you scared of this team if you're Tom Brady? Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, they're the champs. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
Are you scared of this running core when you have Leonard Fournette and company on your side of the ball?
Yeah.
That's where I'm saying is the big disconnect for me. Arizona can prove me wrong, and I hope they do. I am not rooting against them, but it was just something that kept coming on ODPH social media this weekend about Crown Arizona, and I'm like, whoa.
I think you got to give them a bump for the Ertz thing, though, too, and especially give a bump to their front office because I was talking to a buddy who's a Cardinals fan. They gave up nothing for Zach Ertz because he was like, the guy I was talking to was like, yeah, you know, the cornerback they gave up wasn't even on the roster, on the sidelines. He was off the practice squad. Mm-hmm. And then they gave up a draft pick. So they gave up next to nothing for a starting tight end.
Yeah. It's a steal for Arizona.
Oh, absolutely.
And as long as he can stay healthy, it's going to be a benefit long term for them.
I'm starting to wonder, though, if the front office aren't some sort of like magician wizards or something, because this is like 2 deals in the last 2 years that they've gotten real decent, real good players for next to nothing.
Well, the DeAndre Hopkins is a once-in-a-lifetime deal.
I know.
Yeah, that one, listen, I know where...
next to nothing, though.
I know where you're going with it. Yes, I will agree, but like that is like you hit the lottery ticket when you see it fall out of somebody else's trash can. Like that is literally how that deal fell in their hands because Houston had no idea what they had and just threw it away.
Yep.
And how stupid they look right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
You, from the dawn of time, like now till the end of the world, that is going to be the move that everybody's going to be talking about as the worst move in all sports history.
Well, it's
one of them.
One of them. There's a couple others I put ahead of that, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's Arizona's gain. And listen, if they can get to the Super Bowl and win, I can't wait to see Hopkins' social media going right at Houston about that.
Boy, Houston, all of Houston is just going to sign off social media for like 6 months.
Yup, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, but Arizona, next couple games I got coming up, they're playing Houston this coming Sunday.
Ironic.
Which, as we record, the line is Arizona by 17.5.
Jeez.
And the over-under is 47.5. Folks, if you're, I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would take the over.
I would take the over in a heartbeat.
After that, they've got Green Bay, San Francisco, Carolina, Seattle, a bye week in week 12. And then to close out the year, they've got Chicago, the Rams, Lions, Colts, Cowboys, and Seattle.
Not the easiest road.
No.
They do have some easy wins, though. So I think Arizona, barring any crazy injuries, they're playoff bound, and I could see them being the number 1 seed. I could definitely see them locking in the 2nd seed no matter what. I think there'll be a couple of games, though, that could surprise them.
Yeah.
But I think their future is very bright. And then as for Cleveland, we're hearing reports about they're not sure about the status of Baker Mayfield. We know Nick Chubb is out this week.
Yep.
The injury bug is hitting them extremely hard.
Looks like Kareem Hunt got carted off, so I'm willing to bet odds he won't play.
Yeah, so Cleveland's rise to the top of the AFC is going to be hitting some bumps. And we'll see what this team is made of, but we have to remember, I mean, if your players are injured, it is what it is. It's something you can't foresee. It just happens. So we'll have to see if this team can scrap a couple wins out until they get their guys back.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big story for them moving forward. So let's get to my locks and leaps.
Sure.
And we'll go to my locks, which I'm going to say this. I'm happy for my lock. Don't get it wrong. But this is not as big of a blowout as it seems. Mm-hmm. Kansas City is not the Kansas City of old.
I told you so.
You've told me. Rich from 3FN has told me.
Look up the tape, the NFL preview show. I said that they weren't going to be the same Kansas City we're used to.
No, but they got the win over an extremely bad Washington football team.
Oh God, yeah. Kansas City won by the final score of 31-13. Patrick Mahomes had 32 of 47 for 397 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Taylor Heinicke, 24 of 39 for 182 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Kansas City's lucky they got the win out of here.
Uh-huh. And I'll say this. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are the only ones keeping them in these games because were it not for them, they would not be winning these. Just because you look at their running game. Darrell Williams was their leading rusher, 21 carries, 62 yards, and I know they've got injuries going on with that, so I understand that. Mm-hmm. But then, all right, take out Travis Kelce. So Travis Kelce had 8 catches, 99 yards, no touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had 9 catches, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. Take them out of the equation. You had Mecole Hardman with 4 catches, 62 yards, no touchdowns. Byron Pringle with 3 catches, 55 yards, no touchdowns. Demarcus Robinson, 3 catches, 46 yards, 1 touchdown. Jody Fortson, 1 catch, 27 yards, no touchdowns. Darrell Williams with 3 catches, 27 yards, no touchdown. And Jerick McKinnon, 1 catch for 5 yards, no touchdowns. Literally, Kelce and Hill are keeping them in this game. And Patrick Mahomes with his ridiculousness.
Well, he's getting lucky, but that luck is running out.
The clock's getting close to midnight. The old glass slipper is going to turn back into whatever it turned into.
We have said this before, and we'll say this again. There is this window of time where quarterbacks come into this league, whether it's a rookie year, second year, third year, and they surprise a lot of teams because they throw different looks that defensive coordinators and defensive players have not seen before.
Oh, yeah.
But then teams start studying tape.
There gets to be enough of it.
And there gets to be enough that you're picking up tendencies. You're seeing how to beat these quarterbacks. And then the great ones adapt to it and change and can still lead. This is why Tom Brady has still been relevant all these years.
Oh, yeah.
This is why Aaron Rodgers has still been the elite quarterback that he is and carrying Green Bay literally on his back.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, as of right now, I'm going to say it. You can call it an unpopular opinion. They've figured him out.
Oh, yeah. No, they have. 100%.
There is nothing to his game that is surprising anybody other than he's getting a no-look pass-off here and there.
Yeah, no, it really, isn't surprising anybody, and they've got it figured out. And I'll add to your point with Brady and Rodgers, head coaches as well, because the quarterback can only do so much with what he's given around him and the plays and the plan and the game plan. That comes down to coaches too, because that's one of the great things about Belichick is making adjustments and swapping things from week to week. With over the years, I remember the one playoff game Gronk got hurt, and he was a big game focus for the game plan. All right, flip it up. We got to go to this other guy. Reed is a good coach. Obviously, you look at the record and you look at the accolades and what he's done over the years, but he's not showing that next level thinking to put him on the elite head. He's still very, very good. If I'm starting a franchise, I would love to have him as my head coach to start, but he's not at that elite level yet because defenses have figured your quarterback out and you are not doing anything, at least that we can tell, to make those adjustments and get your quarterback in the position he needs to win, because this was a bit of a blowout just from a differential standpoint. It should have been more because Washington is not that good.
Washington is awful. I'm sorry, they are awful. And the fact that Kansas City let them in this game as long as they did is literally atrocious. And as you're touching upon with Patrick Mahomes, this is up to Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy to really get him in a better offensive game plan going into these games. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sorry, this game should have been a literal 48-3 blowout. It should have been. The fact that at halftime it was 13-10 Washington is a joke. I'm sorry. The defensive team with Steve Spagnuolo is still the defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Should have been able to handle this outright.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the NFL team total defensive stats for the year. In terms of yards per game, Washington is second to last, giving up 423 yards per game. They're only ahead of Seattle who has 433.2. Mm-hmm. They are in the bottom third of sacks a game, getting where they are. They've got 12 sacks in the NFL, behind a handful of teams. They're ahead of a handful of teams. And then in terms of turnovers, they're also in that bottom third, getting, They got a differential of -2. So their defense is not that good.
No.
And as great and as generational as Patrick Mahomes is supposed to be, you know what? And I'm only thinking of this because the anniversary of this game came up, the last couple of days. There was that game 10 years ago where Brady played the Titans in New England, and he put up 4 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns, whatever the hell it was, in one quarter. And it was fucking absurd to watch. I admittedly still watched the
snow game.
The snow game, yeah. He had the flea flicker to Randy Moss that, was a blowout by halftime. It should have been something like that for this game.
Oh, it absolutely should have been. But that's the thing. I will give Washington credit. They almost pulled this game off.
Oh, they did.
They almost did, except their offense is not good.
No, yeah, they kept it in it, for the first half, but then sputtered the second half, not getting any points.
Yeah, and especially when Mahomes was having a terrible game.
We'll say, only 10 points in the first half for Kansas City, and then 7 in the third quarter, 14 in the fourth quarter. So if you were able to score twice, you would have been in it.
Oh, he definitely would have been in, but that's the problem that you have when your offense is very predictable. You double-team Tyreek Hill, so thus it forced Travis Kelce to take over games. And I'm sorry, he's a great tight end.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best in the league. But is he somebody that will take over a game?
No.
I don't think he is.
No, he's got great stats, but I think that comes with a product of the game plan. And all right, and it's not like when, Randy Moss and Dante Stallworth and all those guys were with Brady, where they could, Randy could just take over a game at the drop of a hat. Kelce has great stats, but that's a product of the only other halfway decent and great receiver on that team is Tyreek Hill. And if they double team him, I'm going to get all the attention.
Yeah. That's something that Kansas City is going to have to figure out moving forward.
Yeah.
But I don't see it happening right now.
No.
I think Mahomes is definitely having happy feet. He's not feeling comfortable in the pocket, and he's pressing himself a lot to try making something happen when it's not there. I mean, how many interceptions did he have? And I'm sorry, the interceptions were on him. It was not on Tyreek Hill. I know that's going to be another factor too. I don't want to dwell on this too long, but I'm going to just say for Patrick Mahomes, I would kind of have a little word with his own camp, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Stop being a distraction.
Yeah.
And get focused, stay off social media and just keep it about the game and not about that other kind of factors that we criticize Lonzo Ball about.
Yeah.
To put it mildly.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that very politely, because when that's starting to take over headlines instead of how your team is doing, that is not a good look, and that's not helping a quarterback that is looking very, very shook during games.
Yeah, he really needs to get it focused and get it fixed. Just because this could vary, they're sitting there at, what are they, 3-3? Yeah, they're 3-3. This could very quickly get away from them. And the last thing he needs is off-field distractions that result in him getting asked about it in radio interviews if he's got those going on during the week, or the however many press conferences he has during the week between games. He needs to focus on this. He doesn't need the distraction of, crap, I know I'm going to get asked about, issue X that happened off the field with somebody related to me. I got to figure out how I'm going to answer this. Like, he does not need those.
No, he doesn't. And the fact that it seems like it's now growing,
Yeah.
in my opinion, is not a good look. So if I'm the Kansas City coaching staff, I have a word with him, and then he's got to do what he's got to do. But right now, Kansas City got a win over a very bad team.
Yeah.
They almost didn't. That's the story from this one. And moving forward and looking at their schedule pad, how is this going to go ahead?
Yeah, so this coming week they got an interesting matchup where they play Tennessee in Tennessee. After that, they've got the Giants on Monday Night Football, and then they've got Green Bay, Raiders, Dallas, bye week in Week 12. And then to close out the year, they've got Denver, the Raiders again, Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, and Denver to close out the year.
I'm saying this right now. If they don't clean up their act, they might be the ones outside looking in.
Tennessee's a toss-up. A couple 2 years ago, that was not the case where you're like, shit, that's an easy win for them, but not the case anymore. New York, they should win. Green Bay's a toss-up. The Raiders game is a toss-up. Dallas is a toss-up. I could see them beating Dallas, but with the way Dallas is playing, you can't count Dallas out. And then the Raiders, obviously, listen, we know the Raiders play them real tough. Mm-hmm. And the Chargers, you never know, and Pittsburgh, you never know.
That's the thing. For a team that is playing as inconsistent, and I don't care that they're 3-3, they are an inconsistent team. Kansas City can be defeated.
And this is why games at the start of the year are so goddamn important.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't seem like it, where you're like, oh, you're 0-1, it's not the biggest deal. Kansas City's sitting here at 3-3 with a lot of games coming up that, like, give me a coin that might help me decide who's going to win this game.
Yeah.
Think of Pittsburgh a couple of years ago where they had that tie, and it ended up biting them in the ass and preventing them from getting into the playoffs.
It's a wild scenario to figure out. But for Kansas City, the games they should win, they need to. But the ones that they're pulling these wins out against, they're not looking like a contender.
No.
They're just getting by. I don't care that they had a second half that was 21 points unanswered. The fact that you had Washington hanging with you until that fourth quarter is atrocious if you're calling yourself a Super Bowl contender. I'm sorry, it is what it is.
It is.
So unless you're going to fix those problems, we don't really have anything more to say about that.
Nope.
And for Washington, thanks for showing up.
It's a moral victory.
It's a moral victory, but for a team that, let's face it, is bad.
No, they're bad.
You can just have those moral victories all you want, but that's all the wins you're going to get this season. Sorry. It is what it is. But we want to talk about teams that are rebounding and winning and doing what they should do. Those Las Vegas Raiders
didn't let the headlines distract them.
Nope, they got back down to business in a very crucial win. Pad, break it down for us.
The Raiders did what Al Davis said, just win, baby, win. And they won by the final score of 34-24. Derek Carr, 18-27 for 341 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Teddy Bridgewater, 35 of 49 for 334 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Well, I think we can all be in agreement Denver came back to earth.
Yeah. Well, when you play 3 teams in 3 weeks that are a collective 0-9.
Yeah. You really get exposed for being the team you are.
Yep.
And it is what it is. The Raiders, though, with all the distractions they've had with John Gruden leaving the team this past week, this was a good win for them.
Oh, yeah.
They needed this win. It's division rival. Obviously, Raiders and Broncos, you know the history if you are a fan of both teams. If not, it's a very, very heated rivalry.
Yeah. And
we'll just leave it at that.
They don't like each other.
Not in the least. But for Derek Carr, this was a strong game for him.
Yeah.
341-2. That is not a joke of a stat line, especially Denver's calling card has always been their defense.
Oh, yeah.
So
the quote I gave you from Von Miller at the top of the show.
Exactly.
Enough said, but yeah, Derek Carr, kudos to him. Averaged 12.6 yards a pass.
That's huge.
Oof.
That's huge, and that's what they needed to do.
The man was throwing first downs.
Yeah, because with all the distractions they've had, this was a must-win for them, and they are one of the better teams in the AFC that I don't think is getting a lot of credit for what they've been doing.
Well, it's the Raiders are kind of like the Colts in a way where they win, but they don't win sexy. Looking at the stat line, Josh Jacobs was their leading rusher, 16 carries, 53 yards with 1 touchdown. Okay, not sexy. Henry Ruggs III was their leading receiver with 3 catches, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. The man averaged 32.3 yards a catch. Goddamn.
He runs just basically downfield.
Byron Edwards, 2 catches, 67 yards, no touchdowns. Darren Waller, 5 catches, 59 yards, no touchdowns. So, they're great looking stats, but, it's here and there. It's not like they're taking over entire portions of the game.
No, they're one of the more inconsistent teams in football. But when they're clicking and when they're focused, they're scary.
Yeah.
Like, they will put up some points against anybody. So for the Raiders, especially with everything, and I don't want to get into that story, I think the Raiders moving forward is the story.
Yeah.
That this was such a solid win and definitely taking advantage of a Chiefs team that lost, is not the team that they used to be.
Oh, yeah.
The Chargers are, who we thought they were.
They could be.
Well, it depends. Like I say,
everyone could have, every team can have a fluke game. We'll see.
Yeah. But for Denver, they need to do what they need to do, and that's beat a bad team. And Denver is not good.
No, in Denver, like I said, everyone was kind of surprised by Denver, but then you remember they played 3 teams that were combined 0-9.
Yeah.
And since they played those 3 teams, they're 0-3.
Exactly. They came back to earth.
To quote Eminem, snap back to reality. There goes gravity.
Exactly. Facts, Pad. Facts. So, solid win for the Raiders.
Yeah.
They got a tough schedule moving forward, though.
Yeah, so they've got Philly this coming week, and then they've got a bye week in week 8, and then to finish out the year, they play the Giants, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Dallas, Washington, Kansas City, Cleveland, Denver, Indianapolis, and then to close out the year, they play the Chargers.
It could be tough.
Yeah, there's a couple of tough. It's kind of like bouncing back and forth where should beat Philly, although Philly did hang with Kansas City, so you never know. Should beat New York. Kansas City, toss up. I would think they beat them. Cincinnati, you don't know. Dallas, I don't think they're going to beat Dallas. Should beat Washington. Cleveland, depends on who's on the field at that point.
Yeah.
In Kansas City, we already mentioned. Denver, you just beat them. And then Indianapolis, depends which team is going to show up. And then Chargers, depends who's going to show up.
That's the whole thing with the Raiders, and that's why I say it's a tough schedule. If the Raiders are the dominant team that is focused, this should be an easy run. Should be. That is the key phrase here.
Yeah.
But we do know that the Raiders are very inconsistent.
Yeah, Christ, they lost to the Chicago Bears a week ago, 20-9, and Chicago is not good.
No, Chicago's they're bad.
They're not good. But then they just beat Denver, who I would kind of put in the same class of team, 34-24. So the inconsistency.
Yeah, I don't want to say Chicago's trash, but they are not good. They are a very bad team. But that goes back to the stat about the Raiders. It's if they show up and they're focused to play, and this was such an emotional win for them to get back on track. It's a huge win for them, and they got to carry that momentum down the stretch because they can sneak in the playoffs and do some damage. And that AFC West is up for grabs.
Yeah.
It completely is. Kansas City is not the Kansas City of old like we touched upon.
No.
The Chargers are the most inconsistent team in all of football.
Uh-huh.
So who knows what you're going to get out of them each week. But the Raiders have a little more depth, I think, on the defensive side.
Yeah.
That they could make that run. So we'll have to see what they do moving forward. And then Denver, it was a good September. But I think somebody woke you up when September ends because there really is not much more to talk to you about. Oh, I had to sneak one in there.
That's a bad Green Day reference. No, the thing with the Raiders though is they have to get really going, and right now they're tied with the Chargers for first place. Denver's right behind them at 3-3, and the same with Kansas City. So I think if the Raiders keep doing what they're doing, they'll be good. But to get in the playoffs, just because there's so many competitive teams in the AFC. That getting, it's not like years past where you were all right. We're not going to get the division, but we still know we're going to get a wild card spot. Not necessarily a guarantee with as many good teams as you've got between New England, Buffalo. You got Baltimore and Cincinnati playing very well. You've got Tennessee playing very well. Indianapolis, you never know, could go off at any point and go on a stretch. And then you got the AFC West with the Chargers. 50-50, and then you got the Raiders. It's not a guarantee.
Definitely not a guarantee, but they definitely can make some moves moving forward. That's going to be the big test for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Taking a quick lap around the league because I know Pat and I want to talk about our teams respectively.
Sure.
Jacksonville got a win overseas against Miami, 23-20.
Hey, you only had to go across the pond to get a win and break your 0-20 streak.
Yeah, so congratulations, Jacksonville and Miami.
How's it feel?
Yeah, I could celebrate more, but hey, we got to get done with this segment at some point, right?
Yeah.
The Rams took it to the Giants 38-11.
Hey.
Good teams do what good teams do, and that's beat bad teams, and the Giants are bad.
Hey.
The Giants, yeah, you guys might be trash. I'm sorry. They're just not a good football team on all sides.
No.
Your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy can't even defend him because he actually took the Rams as the lock this week.
Oh.
I want to make that known on record, folks.
Jesus.
Indianapolis, 31-3 over those Houston Texans. The most boring team in football put up points.
Yeah.
That's all you can really say.
When you're the most boring team in football going against the worst team in football.
Yeah, you're going to look like all-stars. And sure enough, you did. Cincinnati got a good win against Detroit, actually, 34-11. Green Bay, and the quote of the year from Aaron Rodgers.
Quote of the decade. I don't care what fucking year it is.
God.
I fucking own you.
Yes, the fact he got caught on tape saying that is the most epic thing you're going to hear.
I blacked out. I don't remember what I said.
Yeah, sure. Aaron Rodgers is a legend, folks.
I liked what the one writer I saw online said, though. Aaron Rodgers has figured out the taunting rule. Just say it to the fans.
Yep, say it to the fans and be done. Chicago's worst nightmare came in and did what he does. 24-14, big win there. Baltimore, don't sleep on those Ravens. They put a whooping on those Los Angeles Chargers, 34-6.
Yeah.
If you're not on the Baltimore bandwagon, they are the best team in the AFC, bar none. They are. Minnesota got a very scrappy win against Carolina, 34-28.
Yeah.
And Seattle almost pulled out the big win on Sunday Night Football at Pittsburgh, but unfortunately came up short, and Pittsburgh got the win in overtime, 23-20.
I'll say shout out Geno Smith making his first NFL start in 4 years.
Yeah, I honestly forgot he was still in the league. Not going to lie. But, Pad, we have to talk about our two games before we close out this segment.
Sure.
So would you like to lead off?
Yeah, sure. We'll talk Patriots and Cowboys, which was probably game of the goddamn week. And boy, did I pick a bad time to go see No Time to Die with my dad.
Yeah.
Cowboys won by the final score of 35-29. Dak Prescott, 36-51 for 445 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Mac Jones, 15-21 for 229 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And the reason I say, boy, did I pick a bad time to go see No Time to Die with my dad. My dad has been a big Bond fan over the years, and we've always gone to see the Craig films, so I figured, why not take him to see the last one? Because of his and my work schedule, the only feasible, because, folks, it's if you don't know and you don't listen to the entertainment show, the new Bond movie is 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Yes.
It's long. So the only feasible time we could go see it and not be done by 11 o'clock, when we both worked the next day, was this past Sunday, and we went to see it at one of our local theaters at 7:15. So I was sitting in the theater while the ads were running and even into the trailers, because let's face it, I saw the trailers already, with my phone open on the Gamecast for the ESPN app, watching this go down. So I didn't find out about how this went down until after the movie was over. But no, hey, it's a tough loss, especially with Mac playing as good as he did and Tony goddamn Romo cursing him like he did.
Yeah, he did.
10 of 10, and then he misses his first completion. But, hey, the team played very good. They played a lot better than I thought they would, because I figured this game would be over by halftime. I'm not going to lie. I was fully prepping on that. But they played very good, and I got to give Mac Jones even more credit. He gave up that interception late to fucking Diggs. Goddamn. And immediately came back, memory of an elephant, forgot it immediately, and had that 75-yard touchdown to Bourne. So he's, it's mistakes, and it's rough at the start, but he's a rookie. There's a big adjustment period from college to the pros, and he's showing a lot of poise and a lot of promise very early that, I'll be honest, I thought there'd be a lot more lumps, and I thought we'd be lucky to have 1 win at the start of the year just because he's young. But the fact that we have 2 wins and he's looking as very good as he is, and we've been in some very close games that we shouldn't have been, is a testament to how good he is.
1, crown Trayvon Diggs Defensive MVP of the Year. Just crown him now. He is the sole reason that Dallas is doing what Dallas is doing, being 5-1. His presence on the field is game-changing. Dare I say, have we seen this since Revis Island?
No. I can't. I know.
I'm going to just say that out there.
Gilmore was good the year he won Defensive Player of the Year for us, but Christ, he wasn't like this.
No, he is definitely the factor on this team that's keeping Dallas in games. Dallas's offense looked impressive, and this is why I said last week, I said if Dallas can go into Foxborough and get a win, I'm going to sign off on them as contenders. I am officially signing off on them. They came in there, had a hell of a game. Dak Prescott, even though there is talk that he got hurt, and I'm still trying to get some confirmation about something about he did something to an ankle. It was in a walking boot, They didn't say it was too serious, so as we are recording, I have not got confirmation about that. But I'm going to say this, as long as he's in there.
I'm looking on his player profile, courtesy of ESPN.com, and this is as of a day ago. He's listed as questionable. It says, quote, Coach Mike McCarthy relayed Monday that Prescott's MRI confirmed that the quarterback has a strained calf.
Okay. So it wasn't ankle, it was calf, but still strained. If he's going to be in this team long-term, healthy, they got a good chance to make a deep run.
Yeah.
I could see them hanging with the Cardinals, hanging with the Rams, hanging with Tampa.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Cardinals. I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys schedule. They do play the Cardinals in Week 17.
Yeah, that could be
baby.
That could be a seeding game right there. I'm not even going to lie about that.
There's some implications with that game.
Dallas is playing at that high of a level. Their offense is looking downright scary. CeeDee Lamb. Have a day, sir.
9 catches, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yay.
Especially that overtime one, which I was surprised he did not get called for taunting.
Yeah.
I really am. He got away with one. But Dallas is playing outright scary. Trayvon Diggs is the real deal, and that is why. But take nothing away from Big Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Because even with that interception of Trayvon Diggs, he came right back the next play and burned Diggs.
Like literally one. And Diggs admitted, hey, that blown coverage was on me, which I got to give him credit to. He owned up to it.
Yeah.
But still, for Mac to come back in one play, 75 yards, for a rookie quarterback, that's rare.
Yeah, no, he is the real deal. Like, I hate seeing it as a Bills fan, but he's the real deal. I will fully co-sign on that kid now.
We'll say if we could just get our offensive line to be all healthy at the same goddamn time, it might help.
You guys will be bouncing back sooner than later.
Because that's the biggest issue. New England's had a lot of offensive line injuries and issues that I don't think we've had our full starting offensive line in a couple of weeks.
Right. But you guys are scrapping. Like, that's the one thing. Even as a Bills fan, like I say, I'm not a Patriots fan, but I can respect what they do.
Yeah.
And Belichick is pulling off something here where even though the record doesn't reflect it, they're in every game.
Oh, yeah.
And they're contending. It's not like they're getting blown out.
I'll say they should have gotten blown out by Tampa Bay. They only lost by 2.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, I could have seen them getting blown out by New Orleans, but they only lost by, 15 points, which ain't all that much.
Right.
But then this Dallas game, I fully anticipated them getting blown out of the fucking building because, as I've said, their run game, the Patriots' run defense is fucking atrocious. Nick Chubb ran down our throat for 4 quarters a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Our run defense is not good. And our secondary can only hold them for so long before they start running all over the field on us. But the fact that it was as close as it was, I'm happy about it.
You got to be happy about it. And I'm telling you right now, Mac Jones just needs a couple more pieces around him, and they're going to be certified contenders. No question about that. This was the game of the week, bar none. Very back and forth. It was exciting to watch, and Dallas getting that win, that's a huge win for them moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have to see where they wind up going from here. And then let's close out this segment talking about those Buffalo Bills.
The thoughts, views, and opinions upcoming are that of Ken M. and do not necessarily reflect that of the ODPH, being me or Coach Duffy. Listener discretion is advised.
There's a lot I can really go into about this game.
Music City Miracle 2.0.
I heard about that. I was on 607 TWS, so I did not see it until after the fact.
I was driving, and I got the text from Coach. I'm like, I need to see this when I get home.
Yeah, no, Tennessee.
They tried it.
Tennessee was definitely trying to do everything they could. And I knew this was going to be a tough game for the Bills. And they were definitely going back and forth, which is what two good teams do. For the Bills, though, I thought that the run defense was doing a solid job containing Derrick Henry until the second half.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something like when Brian Ortega fights in the UFC, he gets to that third quarter and goes into another switch.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry did the same damn thing in the fourth quarter and really started taking out the Bills. Now, granted, he does this because he's an elite running back, and this is something that you can't take away from him. He is arguably the best running back in the league.
Oh, he's up there.
If he's not the one, he is definitely in the top 2 conversation. 143 yards, 3 touchdowns, and absolutely took that game over when he needed to, and that allowed A.J. Brown to step up and get open so much in that second half, especially the fourth quarter, where Levi Wallace was getting 5 steps behind him before he would react.
Mm-hmm.
If they had switched up the scheme, they would have shut him down. That is the one thing that drove me nuts with this second half, that the Bills could have won this game outright had they switched up the scheme when they started seeing, oh, A.J. Brown is getting wide open because our corner that is covering him is not even pressing him, and he's letting him just run a slant route over the middle. This is where good teams need to make adjustments. Why this did not happen, the second half, falling asleep, struck again. Like, I don't know how you want to define it, Pad.
No, I mean, I know, and call me shocked, you're talking about Bills and second half adjustments. Like, this is a broken record at this point.
It is, but this is where they've been making those adjustments lately. I don't know what it is. They got on Monday night and just decided not to do it. This is what cost them the game.
Yeah.
In my opinion, they did not make great second half adjustments to that defense because you did slow down Derrick Henry. That was a big thing I had a question mark about. They did a great job slowing him down. Didn't shut him down, but slowed him down enough that they could have won this game.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, the fact that you're letting A.J. Brown take over the game, that was a problem.
I'll say 7. He got targeted 9 times, caught 7 balls for 91 yards. He averaged 13 yards a catch.
Because there's nobody pressuring him. He was wide open. Like, I'm sorry, for being an elite team, the Bills needed to have a body on him. Somebody. Like, I don't care. This is where you take the chance and you switch up with Tre'Davious White, and you put him on Brown there.
Yeah.
You put him on there, and then you take your chances with Julio Jones. You take one shot with it to see if it works, because you had to do something.
No, I definitely think the Bills, just looking at the stats, Julio got targeted 5 times, caught 3 of them for 59 yards, 19.7 yards a catch. I think it was just a case of the Bills were so focused on Julio because Julio is that good of a receiver that they never thought to think at A.J. Brown. And even once they started throwing to him, I don't know what the defensive coordinator was thinking, whether it was just, they're not going to throw to him the entire time. And then they did.
Yeah, then they did. Like, that's the problem. When you start seeing it happen, like, once, okay, sure.
Like, even the computer in Madden on easy mode is going to pick up on that.
Yeah, you start figuring that out. So why is it sitting that I can sit there, watch at home, and figure this out? And you can't do this on the field. Like, I'm sorry. Like, this is unacceptable. For being an elite team, you need to make these adjustments. You do. There's no question about this. And like I said, if you had to do something to Tre'Davious White and switch up his coverage, you take that shot because you're getting burnt.
Yeah.
If not him, then somebody needs to go and do something to put some pressure on Brown, because if he's getting wide open as he is, then there's your ball game. And that's how Tennessee got back in this one. And for Josh Allen, not the best game he's had.
No.
Not going to lie about that. I mean, obviously, 353, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah.
Not the greatest stat line.
A rating of 107.8. He did get sacked 3 times, so.
I mean, he was on his heels for the most part. I'm glad he finally found Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
Where have you been all season? 7 catches, 88 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
So
Diggs has been real quiet all year, too. I mean, he had 9 catches, 89 yards, 1 touchdown, but it's never, like, the entire season, it's not been anything real sexy.
But the thing about with Diggs, though, and I understand what teams are doing, and it's the smart thing, they're double covering him.
Oh, you have to.
Well, yeah, which you have to, but Josh is recognizing this and is trying to pass the ball more to other receivers.
So shout out Emmanuel Sanders. Didn't know you were still in the league. 5 catches, 91 yards.
Oh, he was wide open on the sides. That's why I was surprised that final drive down the field when the Bills were down 34-3 with about 3 minutes left, and they were driving down the field. Why we didn't try utilizing Sanders more, especially in the red zone?
Yeah,
that's what I didn't understand, and that is, I guess, my biggest issue with this, because I know that everybody has been talking about when it was 4th and 1, ball on the 2-yard line. Why did we go for it? And we should have. Listen. You look at that series that we did, and Tennessee was waiting on it. They knew Josh was going to QB sneak that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knew watching at home.
Vrabel's not an idiot.
He's definitely not. So if you're struggling that much, I would have just kicked the ball. I'm going to stand on my soapbox and scream that. I would have kicked the ball and taken my chances in overtime. Why? We slowed down Derrick Henry enough. A.J. Brown was the only threat that we had.
I mean, you slowed him down to a point until that second half.
Well, yeah, the second half he took over, because you know what? By that time, he does what he does. He wears defenses down. But I'm just saying, for that overtime, you never know what's going to happen there, and sure, it could have gone sideways. But I think for being so predictable with your play calling down there in that final series, That's where I know there was a disconnect, and that's where the problem is. I'm not blaming Josh because Josh slipped. Okay, this is football. Stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
But the play call, Tennessee was already on that right side of the line, left side if you're watching from the Bills side.
Yeah.
They were there. So you can't say that they weren't ready for the play no matter what. And honestly, if Josh didn't slip, would he have gotten the yards?
Maybe.
Maybe. I'll be honest. But
hindsight, and that's 2020.
Exactly. But he did that with, 22 seconds left? That's a lot of taking your chances.
Yeah.
And then what? If he doesn't get in the end zone, you got a first down, and you only got a couple plays to do something. It's just a matter of, in the heat of the moment, I thought they should have called something better. I can armchair quarterback this all I want. But at the end of the day, when the defensive coordinator did not make that adjustment for A.J. Brown, that's what cost the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. In my opinion, that is what did it. Am I mad at my team's effort? No, because Tennessee is a lot better team than I think people give credit for.
Yes.
And I'll be the first one to say, they did their job. They won outright. I know I'm going to get a message from JT from East Coast Avengers about this. Yes, I'm giving you your due. I never said that Tennessee was going to be an easy win. That's why I stayed the hell away from this game. But for moving forward, the Bills are on a bye week this week.
Right.
They're definitely going to have to sit there and think about this and get back on the winning track. And I hope they get the idea of what went wrong during the series out of their system and just get back to football. That this is not going to be the defining moment of the year, but I think for a team that was struggling to put up some points, especially in the second half when you only put up 11, this is where you're going to have to make some better decisions moving forward to close out some games. Because for being the elite team, as everybody was saying they were, they still are in that echelon, but they still got some learning to do. And as much as it pains me to say that, it's fact.
So the only other thing we know is fact is I agree with what Des Bryant tweeted out. Quote, Derrick Henry is the player we all created whenever we was younger on Madden.
Absolutely. Derrick Henry is an absolute beast.
He's a monster.
Yeah. So the fact that we actually slowed him down enough until that second half, I take it as a moral win, but guess what? That's not the win that counts. The win that counts is the one Tennessee got. And now we're tied with them at 4-2. Oh, it's going to be a long bye week. But at least my next Sunday will be a little more stress-free because I won't have to worry too much. But I know there's going to be a lot of other teams that we're going to have to talk about next week, so definitely hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. What is your takeaways from Week 6 in the NFL? We want to know. We're going to get a quick break. We'll be right back.
Yeah, Brian Wayne here, your host of the Cheers to Comics podcast, the podcast dedicated to delivering the most current content in the world of comic books. So whether you're looking for the most spectacular interviews of the creators that make the things that we love, or you're looking to maybe line your pockets with some speculation, this is the podcast for you. So tune in on Mondays and Fridays, and you are guaranteed to never miss a beat of the pulse of this amazing, amazing comic book industry. Cheers.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. And as we are recording, it is finally time to say basketball is back.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA is returning tonight.
For their diamond anniversary, 75th year.
Crazy to think.
Yeah.
It's been 75 years of the National Basketball Association, but we are here for it. So we are going to give you our early season predictions, kind of say who we think is going to do what this year. So, Pad, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so of course I think we got to take a look at last year and just kind of how things went.
Sure.
And just how, it all went down. You had the Philadelphia 76ers got the first place in the Eastern Conference. You also had the Brooklyn Nets, Milwaukee Bucks, the Knicks, Hawks, and Heat all making it into the playoffs. And then on the Western Conference side, you have the Jazz, Suns, Nuggets, Clippers, Mavericks, Trailblazers all making it in, the playoffs. But then ultimately what you had at the end of the season was the Milwaukee Bucks raising their banner for the first time in Lord knows how many years.
Yeah.
And Giannis finally bringing a chip to that city, which has not seen one in quite some time. So will they be able to do it again? Maybe. I don't know. Hard to say. You've also got some other stuff going on around the NBA, which is, messy to say the least. Will Ben Simmons remain in Philly? Who knows? Will certain other players play more than half a season in Brooklyn? We'll see.
I think that's where we kind of have to say is there's no other headlines that are more bright I guess if you can call it that, then what is going on in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah.
And two very different scenarios happening right now, but definitely two that are impacting possible contenders in that conference. Mm-hmm. And I guess first and foremost, we have to take a look at the proverbial number one seed in all the Eastern Conference, and that is the Brooklyn Nets.
Uh-huh.
Now, obviously, we know that KD, the arguably best player on the planet, is reunited with James Harden for a full season.
Yep.
Obviously, from the messy divorce he had in Houston, he's now fully locked and loaded to kick off with Brooklyn and see where they go. Albeit, though, the controversy surrounding one Kyrie Irving is looming its head over that team.
It's real ugly.
It's real ugly. I don't want to dwell upon it too much other than to say, you know what you get with Kyrie.
Uh-huh.
And you can see the track record that has happened in his entire NBA career where he's had these moments where things crumble around the team he's on. Mm-hmm. We saw this in Cleveland when
that was towards the end, though.
Well, it was towards the end in Cleveland.
End.
But when he had to start playing with LeBron, we saw the deterioration of what could have been a full dynasty in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
That he wanted out. He went to Boston, where it was his team.
His team. He apologized to LeBron. He goes, I understand where you're coming from now. I'm not going to leave this city. Until he did.
Yes, and left in very, very messy fashion.
Yeah.
And then he signed with Kevin Durant to Brooklyn, and it was supposed to be the revitalization of the Nets. And everything was supposed to be just Brooklyn versus L.A. It was going to happen, lock and loaded. And it didn't.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is they both came to the Nets, and it was supposed to be their team. But we got to remember, KD was out that year because he had injured himself in the playoffs.
Right.
Missed that entire year. Kyrie, didn't play the full season because obviously that season play stopped because of the pandemic. And when things went to pick back up in the bubble, Kyrie did not come. Kyrie did not play. So they had that going on. And then, so Kyrie didn't play for competitive basketball. When I say competitive basketball, I'm not talking like pick up with your friends. It gets really hard. No, I'm talking like an official NBA game. Didn't play an NBA game for 10 months. Played a week and then needed time off.
Yeah.
When you took 10 months off.
It's just puzzling to see what is going on with him, and he is just bringing this unwanted media attention around him wherever he goes.
Yeah, and I think he's really making this up as he goes because, we won't get into the super nitty-gritty of it, but like just the bare bullet points. The whole thing started off, it's a personal matter, I'm not going to discuss it. Mm-hmm. I'm not vaccinated. To, I'm not vaccinated and I'm taking my stance because, I don't like how some people are losing their jobs because they choose not to be vaccinated. To, I'm saying that because, I'm not an anti-vax, blah, blah, blah. Like, if his stance is what it is, that he's doing it because he doesn't like what's happening with the mandates and everything, that is fine, and that is his own personal belief, and I can't make him change that, and I can't. There's nothing. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Say that shit at the start, because you have what a lot of people don't, and that is a very good voice and a very vocal platform, and a voice that will reach places that if you want to make change, if you want to do something to help those folks that you say don't have a voice in this and that, use your platform. Don't make, because to me, it's looking like you're making this shit up as you go and you're just using it as an excuse.
Exactly. It's become such a distraction to this team, and he is not reporting to the team as they are starting.
Yep.
Because of the rules with New York City. Mm-hmm. So that being said, this is going to be something that will be hovering over this team the entire year.
Oh, yeah. It's an unneeded distraction because just looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference, they should run away with the conference. I mean, Milwaukee could contend with them. You never know. In Miami, hey, they still got Jimmy Butler down there. Mm-hmm. But Philly is a train wreck in and of itself, and we'll get to them in a minute. But the rest of the, Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Indiana, the Knicks, Orlando, Washington, Toronto, Charlotte. Brooklyn is leaps and bounds ahead of them, where the conversation should be, hey, how good do you guys think you're going to do this year? How many wins do you think you're going to get? Like, just those sort of questions, but none of it is.
No, none of it is. And he's so much of a distraction at this point, in my opinion. Brooklyn is going to have to come to terms if you're going to keep him on the roster or not.
They're going to have a proverbial come to Jesus moment.
You're going to have a very uncomfortable conversation in your front office about this because he's not reporting the games, and it is what it is. The scenario is not being beneficial to your team.
No.
It's now become a distraction. And to see how they're going to perform with this distraction looming overhead is going to be the defining factor of this team this season, and it shouldn't be.
And this distraction isn't going to go away just because the games start up tonight as we record. You know, the games tonight are, you've got Brooklyn playing in Milwaukee at 7:30 Eastern on TNT, and then the late game is Golden State at the Lakers at 10 o'clock on TNT. Win, lose, or overtime loss or overtime win with Milwaukee tonight, just because you win or lose doesn't mean after the game, guys like KD, Harden, and whoever else is on that team, and Steve Nash included, whatever the results of that game are they're going to ask about the game. But the very next day, and there will, I guarantee you, be questions after this game, when's the next game Kyrie's going to play?
Yep.
It's not going to stop because the season starts. It's not going to go away. It's going to persist throughout the season.
Exactly. And this is something that a team that is still trying to find their footing is really going to be challenged with.
Oh, yeah, and they totally are, because you remember last year where they all played together. You know, I think they only played like a handful of times together on the court at the same time.
The three of them, yeah.
The three of them, just because of injuries.
Yeah, so it's not to say that they're going to be able to overcome this easily, but it's going to be a distraction that you're really going to see what you are made of. Mm-hmm. And for Brooklyn, I don't know how this is going to shape up. I really don't. Kevin Durant is arguably the best player on the planet. Sure, yeah. I'll give you that. James Harden, if he's motivated, is a great player, is an elite player.
Oh, yeah.
But is it going to be too much for them to handle this going on?
And it's real easy to handle this in the off season where you're not really doing all that many interviews and dealing with reporters all that much. Now that the season's getting ready to start, you know, they're playing 1, 2, 3, 4 games between now and a week from today. And that's Lord knows how many other, you know, press conferences and stuff they're going to have between now and then. They're going to hear about this ad nauseum for the next week. And you have to imagine that's going to start wearing on some of the players that they have to answer about this every single day.
Well, we've seen when it happens before when they've had trouble. I mean, in respect to teams, obviously when KD was leaving Golden State and that media circus that was going on there. Yeah. And obviously with James Harden leaving Houston and the media circus that was happening there.
Yeah.
And now you're going to the pressure cooker of every media outlet in the world, New York City.
Uh-huh.
How is this going to shape up to be beneficial? I'm sorry. I don't see how this is going to be working in a favorable manner that you're going to be able to overcome this early on. Like, it just depends on what is going to be the status and the team with Kyrie moving forward. Because until he reports or until he's removed from the team, whatever the case is, this is going to be the story that follows them everywhere.
And let's face it, you know, it's not great he's not playing, but it doesn't exactly hurt him.
No.
I'm looking at their depth chart on ESPN.com. They've got James Harden listed as point guard, Joe Harris at the shooting guard, Bruce Brown, at the small forward position, Kevin Durant at the power forward position, and LaMarcus Aldridge listed at the center position. They've also got Blake Griffin on the team, Paul Millsap, you know. So they've got some pretty good players that, like, just with Harden and Durant alone, they can contend. They can win a bunch of games, but it's still going to be a huge distraction.
Being in the Eastern Conference, they can contend.
Oh, yeah.
That's easy for those two. I mean, you have two elite players. That's not going to be the end-all, be-all to overcome.
Yeah.
But to make a deep run in the playoffs, if it's still just those two, that's going to be the challenge. And then depending on if Kyrie joins them and what kind of condition he's ready to go, that's going to be another factor too. Because with basketball, it's a team sport. And if you don't have that cohesion, it's going to be a problem for them to overcome.
I'll say I'm looking at their schedule throughout the year, and I just did a quick count for games that are on nationally televised, and I'm not counting NBA TV just because I don't know what that is for certain cable packages. Mm-hmm. But for games on ESPN and TNT, which are on your regular cable package, they are on like 20-some-odd games on ESPN and TNT. The other thing, too, is in the New York area, they are broadcasted on the YES network, which is the TV network that the Yankees own, which is the most watched sports network, I think, the last couple of years in the nation, and it's on basic cable along with TNT and ESPN in the tri-state area. So New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So it ain't going away.
It's not going to go away. It's only going to get bigger the longer he is not reporting if he is still a member of the team. And that's where the Brooklyn front office is going to have to make a decision. If they try moving him, are you going to get a player of equal value, or how is this going to shape up?
Yeah.
Or if you wait on him, you're just going to hear the mounting pressure, especially if they start losing.
Well, and especially you got the other nonsense too. They're like, oh, if they try and trade me, I'll just retire.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And that's the problem that they're going to have.
Try and call his bluff.
But you know what? You knew this when you signed him, that he had been a distraction to every team he had been on in the league. So you reap what you sow in that aspect.
Yeah.
That if you signed him with obviously him being a highly intriguing distraction, I guess is the nice way to put it. So Brooklyn is going to have to deal with what they're going to deal with. And if they can overcome this, it'll just be a feather in their cap. Like we said, they're obviously the number one seed for this season. But last year's number one seed is still going through the same kind of drama too, though.
Oh, shit.
Where do you go from here, Philly?
Hey, I would say nowhere but up, but they're not going up.
No, the Ben Simmons drama is not getting any better.
No.
Obviously, last year he did not have the greatest performance in the playoffs, to put it mildly. And the front office and him have been at odds.
Yeah.
And it's...
he's even wanted out. He didn't show up to the training camp in the offseason. You know, some of the players were going to fly out to where he lives and try and talk to him. He's like, don't even bother. You can ring my door. And I'm, you know, no, this isn't a direct quote, but he basically said, you can come to my door and ring the doorbell, but I'm not going to answer.
Yeah.
You know, he eventually showed up to practice, you know, to the team. But it's now to the point where it was reported today by Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, and I'm reading from his Twitter account, quote, Sixers coach Doc Rivers threw Ben Simmons out of practice today, and the suspension came shortly thereafter, sources tell ESPN. Woj went on to say Simmons' reluctance to physically and mentally engage with the Sixers since his return has been a consistent theme, sources tell ESPN. Doc Rivers said, quote, I thought he was a distraction today. I didn't think he wanted to do what everyone else was doing. Woj said Simmons was tossed early in practice, essentially for a refusal to practice in the next stage of the session, sources tell ESPN. And then you've got Charania of the Athletic and Stadium added some additional details, saying, quote, Doc Rivers asked Ben Simmons to join a defensive drill today. Simmons refused. Rivers asked again. Simmons said no again. Rivers then told Simmons he should go home, and Simmons dropped the ball and left. And it's further, you know, causing issues with the team because in the wake of this, you know, Simmons is suspended for their season opening game on Wednesday night against New Orleans. Joel Embiid said he has yet to speak to Simmons and declared several times that it isn't his job to babysit anyone, saying, quote, I'm trying to win. And to win, you have to have that relationship with your teammates. I do have that relationship with all my teammates. But at the end of the day, our job is not to babysit somebody. We get paid to produce on the court, go out, play hard, win some games. That's what we get paid for. We don't get paid to come out here and try to babysit anybody. So that's not our job, and I'm sure my teammates feel that way. We're really focused on just winning and playing as a team. Close quote.
He's not wrong.
Nope.
Ben Simmons needs to get out of Philly ASAP.
Uh-huh.
The fact that you think that was going to fly with Doc Rivers, who is as old school as it comes, one of the most respected coaches in all the league, he's not going to tolerate that nonsense.
Oh, hell no.
So it's to the point where Philly is going to have to move him.
I'll say Doc Rivers dealt with like the egos in Boston that were Kevin Garnett, KG, Ray Allen, and then Rondo.
Yeah. He's used to dealing with...
Oh, he's dealt with them.
With massive egos, and he's made them contenders and champions. For Ben Simmons to come in there and do what the report said he did, that's wild.
He thinks his britches are bigger than they actually are.
Yeah. You're not bigger than the team. So...
You're an okay player. You're not that great that you can command that kind of respect and whatever like some other players might be able to.
Exactly. Especially not Philly.
Let's say this ain't a fucking TV show.
No. He's got to get moved. I don't know where. I mean...
see, the thing of it is, with the reputation he has as a player and his skill set lacking a little bit, I don't know if there's any team that would take him.
Some team will take a flyer on him. I mean, that's the thing. You'll have somebody willing to take a shot if they think that he could provide some value. Because, other than his shooting, he is a very, very good player.
Yeah.
But what team can tolerate a non-shooting guard of his stature? Like, that's where you have to really look at.
Well, we can rule the Lakers out because he's not the required age minimum.
Exactly. And I know they wouldn't tolerate his nonsense there.
Hell no.
No, you would have to get him around a team. I'd almost want to say like a Utah, maybe.
Maybe.
You'd want to get him out west. I mean, you don't want him in the Eastern Conference. You have to get him out west.
No.
Utah could use a player of his caliber, but I don't know if they would want to deal with his antics. I mean, but it just depends on who would be willing to tolerate him, and especially at this stage too. If you're going to move him, you got to move him and get some value for him. And that's the problem with you have these superstar players that if they're not going to fit on your team, you have to move them, but you have to get value.
Yeah.
I just don't know where you can send him that this would make sense. I mean, the only thing that's popping in my mind is you could send him out west, and I'm thinking for a team that could use a caliber of his athletic ability. You just got to put up with his antics is being reported. Utah was somebody that would jump right to mind. Dallas is kind of a freak contender in that circumstance.
Yeah.
Because I know that if they can get Luka some help, that would definitely help them out.
Yeah.
So Philly has got some pieces they could definitely do. It just depends on what you want to do for your asking price. But at this stage,
let's say at this point, I'll take fill my soda machine and I'll give them to you.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly how it's boiled down to. And for Philly, I don't think they're going to get back there. Even if they move him and get somebody else there,
no,
you still need something else to help him beat out. And I just don't know. I just don't know what that is.
I don't think they can get it done with Embiid. I mean, listen, trust the process. The process has gone on for long enough.
Process is done.
Process is done. They're as sad as it is to say because listen, I got no love for Philly for other reasons, but in terms of basketball, I got no issue against the 76ers. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see them do well. It's been a while. They haven't won one in a while, maybe if ever. I don't know. But it's just sad to see that, you always see these teams that are down and out for so many years. And then there's the prospect of them possibly coming back. Cleveland's there. Mm-hmm. Cleveland was shit for so many years that the fact that they're on the upswing and could potentially be something is exciting to see. Philly was the same way with basketball for a lot of years. That, listen, they haven't been great all those years, especially after Allen Iverson left, that they were possibly on the upswing. I'm like, hey, this could be awesome. This could be great to see. Old school basketball town finally getting a championship, again. But to see it not work out, it's just sad.
It's very sad, and that's the question that you're going to have. And I don't know if there's a really good answer for how this winds up. I think it could go a lot of different ways.
Also, Philly's front office, the fact that you don't have Allen Iverson doing anything in the front office is a fucking travesty.
I agree. That's 1,000% fact.
He doesn't need to be GM. He doesn't need to be president. He doesn't need to be head of basketball operations. But fuck, the guy can scout people. Do something.
Yeah, you got to do something, and that's
something other than bring him in for ticket sales.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Philly's got to do. I know Philly does things a little differently,
True.
But they should get him in there. I fully agree with you in that. And to see how they're going to handle this is going to be a true test for them. I think, unfortunately, this is their season of what do you do with Ben Simmons. As sad as that sounds,
yeah,
because I just don't see Philly competing with Brooklyn. That's the benchmark right now.
No.
Even with Kyrie not being there, that's still your benchmark.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how you're going to contend.
Right. I mean, just even going into division, in the Atlantic division for the Eastern Conference, you got Boston, Brooklyn, the Knicks, 76ers, and Toronto. Toronto's obviously very good. The Knicks are on the upswing, could be better than they were last year. Brooklyn is Brooklyn. And then Boston should be fairly good. So, Philly's got no room for error in this, and they're already starting off with an, E1.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be in their favor. Looking at the rest of the East, though, I will tell you this. I already have my pick to win.
Oh?
It's not Milwaukee.
That's understandable.
I think Milwaukee, listen, it was a nice run with Giannis, but I think that there's one crucial player that is not a part of that team that is on a new team that I think is going to put them over the hump. I know everybody is expecting me to say the Knicks, and listen, I will get to them in just a second because I want to give them their due justice. But my pick to win out of the East is Miami Heat.
Ooh, all right.
I am saying that they're going to pull this off. They got Kyle Lowry now.
That's true.
They got P.J. Tucker out of Milwaukee.
Ooh.
So if you look at that roster that they have right now,
pulling up the depth chart as we speak, you've got, and this is according to ESPN.com, they've got Kyle Lowry listed as their starting point guard, Duncan Robinson as their starting shooting guard, Jimmy Butler as their starting small forward, PJ Tucker as their starting power forward, and then Bam Adebayo as their starting center. On the bench, they do still have Tyler Hero.
yes.
And then they've also got, they've got Victor Oladipo too.
Yes, who's still recovering from injury, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, yeah, he's listed as out.
So I am saying this right now.
They could do it.
That team is a team.
Yeah.
It's not three superstars that are going to put it together and make it happen. This is a team that is solid with a bench.
Yeah.
This team is downright scary. And mark my words, they can contend and they can beat the Nets right now. And if they get Oladipo back and he's even a fraction of what he was before his injury.
Yeah. That's a great team, and not from like a superstar standpoint, but from that is a lot of good positional guys that are very good at their possession. Obviously, Jimmy Butler, enough fucking said.
Yeah.
But then he just makes all the other players around him even better. And Spoelstra's still the coach down there, right?
Yep.
Oh, he knows how to fucking coach. They should be definitely a team to watch out for.
That's a team that I think is getting slept on a lot because everybody wants to go to the headlines of Durant and Harden.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't care. Like, they're going to contend. Sure, they should win, but the team that is playing with the most house money is the Miami Heat because nobody is giving them their due.
No.
When they made that run in the bubble, everybody thought it was a fluke because last year they didn't make it in the playoffs. They got better. Like, that's the thing that people forget is they got better. So I fully see them taking it in the East. I'm going to say it right now because I don't think the Nets are going to do it. I just think that the Nets will fall apart when it comes down to the finals because I could see them getting to the conference finals with or without Kyrie. But I think that this team is too loaded with a bench that's what you need to get over the hump. So that is my pick for it. But I would be remiss if I did not talk about those wonderful, wonderful New York Knicks. Pat, you got that roster. I know you're calling it up because I know we are going to definitely talk about the greatness that is the Knicks.
Yeah, so they're starting five, according to ESPN.com. Kemba Walker, Cardiac Kemba at point guard. Fun fact, look up his highlights from the Big East tournament. He loves playing in the Garden. Evan Fournier as their starting shooting guard. R.J. Barrett as their starting small forward. Julius Randle as their starting power forward. And then Mitchell Robinson as their starting center. Also coming off the bench, they do have Derrick Rose, Obi Toppin. They've got Nerlens Noel. Also there as well. He is currently listed as day-to-day, though. They've got Emmanuel Quickley still listed there. Kevin Knox they still got there. So they got a pretty sound team. I would say Taj Gibson is there.
They have got a team, and they will contend. Could they sneak there? Absolutely.
It's possible.
I think they only got better in the offseason, and it all lives and dies on Kemba's knee.
This is true.
If his knee is at 60%, we're looking good. If it's anything higher, I'm going to call it a miracle. But I'm willing to be a realistic person about this. The Knicks made strides. Unfortunately, they ran into a buzzsaw named Trae Young, and I hate saying that. But the Hawks were more scrappy, and they wanted the series more than the Knicks. I hate saying it, but when Julius Randle went cold at the worst time, they needed a shooting guard. They needed somebody to step up. And Derrick Rose can do what Derrick Rose can do, but let's face it, he's not the Derrick Rose of old.
No.
It is what it is. It's not a slam on him.
It hasn't been the same since that knee injury.
Right. But we still get more productivity out of him than we had on that bench last year. So, like I said, the fact that we now have guards to balance him out is huge.
It's like Miami. It's not a super sexy team, but it's a very sound team.
It's sound. And that's why I say they can hang with anybody. They can hang with the Nets.
Yeah.
In fact, if we beat the Nets, you know how massively ignorant Coach Duffy and I are going to be on Twitter?
Oh, Lord.
Like I said, that could be our series right there, depending on how everything goes.
Because that's the thing is that I would say with that roster, the Knicks can play very soundly from start to finish. Nets, they'll play sound for a good portion of it, but KD and Harden can't be on the court for all of it.
Exactly. That's the problem when
as it stands right now, Kyrie ain't playing any of that series.
That's what you get when you have super teams, because you don't have benches. And that's the biggest issue to watch. Because if you don't have this, it's going to fail epically. That's why the good teams win. And when you sit there and you kind of think about this and go, well, you got superstars and they can take over games. Yeah, that's great and all. But at the same time, you got to have those guys coming off the bench to give you breaks and put up points.
Yeah.
The Knicks have this now. Thibodeau and Leon Rose have done an amazing job building this team. Dolan has stayed the hell away from the team.
For once.
It's been a win-win.
That's a rare thing for Dolan to stay away from the Knicks this long.
I know, but I'll take it. I'm not mad about it.
The cynic in me is sitting there going, this can only last so long.
If I tell you what, Knicks fans, just go out and buy a CD. I'm taking it from Desus and Mero. They give the idea. Listen, think he's a rock star. Get him away. Send him on tour. Like, listen, we'll
put it on. Put his song, if it's on Spotify or Apple Music, I don't know if it is. Put it on repeat all night just so he gets the credit for it.
My God, I heard that on Desus and Mero, and I'm just like, that's incredible. That is the blueprint right there. So the Knicks season is looking bright. I could definitely see him sneaking into the finals.
Yeah, good.
But I don't have them beating Miami as of right now. But we got to see how this team gels together. But they have the pieces on paper to do it.
They'll say they'll get a very interesting test to open the season. They open up on Wednesday at home against Boston, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. And there's a game I know everyone's looking forward to. When does it happen? Of course, Trae Young has already once made his return to Madison Square Garden when WWE SmackDown was there.
Yes.
I don't know if they played them in the preseason, but whether they did or not, that don't count. But Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks return to the Madison Square Garden doesn't take place until, boy, oh boy, did the schedule makers know what they were doing when they planned this one.
Christmas Day,
ESPN, noon.
Christmas Day looks phenomenal, too, by the way.
God.
I just want to say they did a phenomenal job with the scheduling for that day.
I have not seen the schedule for Christmas Day. Why don't you pontificate, and I will pull that up.
Well, we gave you the talk about the East, but we're going to switch to the West. And the West is, I don't want to say is wide open, but listen, the Western Conference is still the one to watch. Still a lot of great contenders there, but everything honestly runs through the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lakers
are old.
They're old, and this could be the last stand for LeBron.
It's like there's a reason I made the joke about the minimum age requirement to get on the Lakers, because it's like 36 years old.
Right.
It's not a joke. Look at the players they have on their starting roster and their average age.
It's an older team, but they're still a stacked one. In fact, they have one of the biggest offseason acquisitions they could, albeit though, traded a lot to get him.
Yeah.
And that's Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
Who I think will help tremendously. Just the only question mark I have with him on this team, and this is the same thing I have when any time you see a super team come together, how do they gel? How do they work together? How do they make this happen? That's the biggest issue that I don't know how it's going to happen, but I do see this team gelling very quickly because I think LeBron is going to be very happy to kind of start to turn the reins over to somebody else on the team.
Yeah, well, because like I said, I'm not joking about the age thing. Russell Westbrook, 32 years old. LeBron James, 36 years old, turns 37 in December. Anthony Davis, 28 years old. Carmelo Anthony, 37 years old. Dwight Howard, 35 years old. DeAndre Jordan, 33 years old. Trevor Ariza, 36 years old. Rajon Rondo, 35 years old.
Yeah, it's definitely an age team.
They got some veteran experience and a lot of playoff knowledge, but that does come at the cost of they can't run like the young guys.
Yeah, but in all honesty, I think if they're veteran savvy, they'll be able to make up the ground this year.
Oh, yeah.
I just think Father Time is going to start catching up to them sooner than later.
There's a lot of tread on a lot of tires.
Yeah, and that's why I say for them, I think this is win now.
Absolutely.
And I do have them winning the conference. I genuinely do.
I think so.
I think that they're there right now. They can definitely go. I don't think the Clippers are.
No.
Kawhi is still healing from his injury.
Yep.
And the Clippers, listen, every time we thought they were going to be finally getting over the hump, they fail.
They need a couple more pieces.
They fail miserably. So I don't buy them. Phoenix
maybe
could be an X factor if Magic strikes. I mean, obviously re-signing Chris Paul is a huge move.
Yeah, but can he capture lightning in a bottle twice?
Yeah, that's the thing too. And I mean, he does help with Phoenix, so I think Phoenix will be in that final again too. I think it's going to be them and the Lakers this time.
Could be.
As for the rest of the West, I mean, listen, it's
nobody else really scares me.
It doesn't scare. I mean, the Jazz, you got Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And
Golden State's there, but you got guys coming off of injury.
You got Klay Thompson coming back finally from injury. What are you going to get out of him at this stage?
Yeah.
And, I mean, their best years, I think, have passed them.
Yep.
They'll still contend.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think that they're still the Golden State of old. The Mavericks, listen, you have Luka and you have nothing around him.
This is true.
Kristaps is not the guy.
He's not the unicorn?
No, we were sadly mistaken. We were blinded by the light, and now we are awake to it because we thought he was the shining light in the garden, and it just turned out it was just a really big spotlight being shined down. Sorry, Kristaps is not the guy. He's not. He's been there, and I don't really see Dallas doing anything to scare me.
Yeah.
It all depends, too, with Denver. I mean, they could be.
They could.
But it's just Jamal Murray. I mean, is he fully back from injury? That's the question.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can capture some of that magic with him and the Joker, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I just don't see anybody else in that West scare me. I mean, they'll scrap.
Yeah, those guys will make some noise. But it might be some team to come out of there like, holy shit, I didn't see them coming. But it's honestly the Lakers to lose.
So that being said, Pad, who's your predictions for the finals and who's winning?
I'm going to say it's going to be the Miami Heat and the LA Lakers, and it's going to be the Lakers. Just because I think there's way too much talent around them, and I think it's going to be, the one last, I don't think he'll retire, but I think it could be the last time we see LeBron make a deep run like this.
I agree with you. We are not looking at each other's sheet, too, by the way. I want to put that out for record.
Nope.
I think Miami is deep enough they can make that run. I don't think Brooklyn's going to. I think the pressure of Kyrie not being there is going to get to KD.
Also, we have yet to see this team play a full season together not hurt.
Yeah, and that's another big factor, too, because and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but if KD or Harden goes down,
it's going to get real hairy.
It's going to get very, very bad. I don't think that team is built to pick up the slack.
No. So
they could be outside the finals looking in. And they're going to be in the playoffs because it's the East. But other than that, they don't scare me one bit. I don't think Milwaukee's going to get back there. Miami is the most solid team in this conference.
Yeah.
Bar none. I know the Knicks are right up there with them, but I'm not going to crown the Knicks just yet. I got to see something on the court that's going to make me say, absolutely, they're locked in. Trust me, I would be rooting harder for the Knicks than anybody this season. But if you're asking me right now who's going to win, it's going to be Miami, it's going to be the Lakers, and this is going to be LeBron's swan song at this elite level. It just is. Father Time is going to catch up at some point, even though he keeps himself in great condition, but he's obviously seen where he's going to need rest for all the tread on the tires. So we'll have to kind of wait to see what pans out, but I think Russell Westbrook is finally going to get that chip. And I think it's going to be a 7-game series, too.
I can see that.
It's not going to be easy for him at well. Oh, it's so good with the NBA back. And I can't wait to start doing trash talk for the Knicks. I have been waiting for this. So hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. We have rumor that Coach Duffy is going to do something as well for the kickoff of the season. I'm going to hold him to it. So definitely you can hit him up at Coach Duffy11 on Twitter. You can find the links at OD Parlay Hour on Twitter. You can talk to me. You can talk to Pat. We'll definitely talk some basketball with you. Who's your predictions for the NBA titles this year? We want to have that conversation. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, my name is JT.
What's up everyone? I'm Darren.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Josh.
Hey guys, I'm Christian.
Hey, what's up y'all? This is Dominic and we're the East Coast Avengers.
We're a group of 5 friends who get together weekly and talk about everything that's going on in the nerd universe.
Whether you're a fan of Marvel, DC, Star Wars, video games, comics, or anything else nerdy that you can think of, we're the podcast for you.
You can find us on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or whatever streaming platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasts on.
You can also catch us on our YouTube channel where we release tons of content such as vlogs, unboxings, TV and movie recaps, and trailer reactions.
So if those things sound good to you, then check out the East Coast Avengers podcast. We hope you enjoy.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and time to talk some wrestling. So this week for the WWE, they are traveling over to Saudi Arabia for the Crown Jewel card.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be available on Peacock to watch in the States.
Yes.
So, Pat, we're just going to break down the card quick. I mean, I know they try hyping this up as a WrestleMania-type event, but it really isn't. It's just kind of a glorified house show.
Pretty much.
So we'll just kind of go through the standings if anything jumps out, and we'll kind of break it down from there.
Yep, so we should note, as Ken mentioned, this does take place this coming Thursday on Peacock. Should note it is at the special start time of noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Figure that out for the rest of you. This is the card as advertised. You know, the article, I'm reading this from eWrestlingNews.com, where it was posted like a couple hours ago. So this is as of this recording, which, as we know with pro wrestling, card subject to change. Mm-hmm. You have in a singles match, Mansoor taking on Mustafa Ali.
So this one could be very interesting. Mansoor, I believe, is from Saudi Arabia?
I think so, yes.
So I think he's going to get the win there.
Yeah, probably. Should be a good matchup nonetheless. Next up, you have the Queen's Crown Tournament final matchup between Zelina Vega and Doudrop.
Okay, so this one, I think, could go a lot of different ways. I mean, between Zelina Vega and Doudrop, I'm happy with either or.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's going to be Zelina Vega. Mm-hmm. I think that she's going to pull out the W here. I think this would be a fun match.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see, but I would also be happy if Doudrop wins. I just hate the name Doudrop.
Oh, yeah, I do too. It's not the greatest name. Either one would be fine in my books to get this. I think I would like to see Zelina Vega with it more because I think she can have a lot of fun and do a lot of real interesting stuff with it. But at the same time, I can see them giving it to Doudrop just because new character, give her a bit of a rub, elevate her stock a little bit, have folks maybe pay attention to her a little bit more. But this is literally like I'm fine either way with whoever wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up, you've got the King of the Ring tournament final, and boy, oh boy, this one's pulling at my heartstrings. You've got the Prince Finn Balor taking on Xavier Woods, and god damn it, I want both of these guys to win.
I am going to go out on a limb and say this. I know Xavier Woods has been very vocal about bringing the King of the Ring back, being involved, and making a big social media push, and I think it's great. I fully applaud it. I honestly think Finn Balor is going to get the W here because I think they're going to tell a better story.
Oh, yeah?
And I think the story is going to be Xavier Woods is driven absolutely crazy by this.
Okay.
And blames Kofi for the loss.
Ooh.
And I think as much as they try saying the New Day would never turn heel, I know that was brought to my attention. I apologize, I forget who said that as well. I think it was Lou from Python Comics.
Okay.
I think either way, the New Day is Big E, Kofi, and Woods.
Okay.
Well, what's to say one member can't turn heel?
Okay.
It's not the faction.
Okay.
So that's why I say I think they'll tell a great story. And maybe, just maybe, we'll actually have that three-way between the New Day at WrestleMania. That we finally get. I know it's been talked about for many years.
Could be.
I could see that coming out of this. And that's why I say
be.
Finn Balor is going to win this one. But I tell you what, if they give it to Xavier Woods, I would not be mad about that.
However this goes, I'm not upset with whoever gets it. It'd be great to see Xavier get it for all the reasons you mentioned. Just him pushing for it for so long. It'd be awesome to see. But as I've said in the show in the past, Finn Balor is my favorite wrestler of all time. And I think he's going to win it just from the fact that Xavier doesn't really need it per se. He's already over with the crowd. He's already a big household name. I think Finn Balor, and Finn Balor is obviously over too and big household name, but I think just from the standpoint of leaving the main roster, going back down to NXT, not everyone who watches the main roster watches NXT. So I think, yeah, he looks a little different. He's got a different demeanor about him. But for the folks who don't know what went on down at NXT, you need to give him a little something to show, hey, this ain't the same Finn Balor that was smiling and throwing up the two sweets that you saw before. This is a different Finn Balor. This guy's got a little bit more of an edge to him.
He's like New Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
Finn.
I think you need to do something, and I think giving him King of the Ring would do just that.
I'd be all right with that, too.
Yeah. Next up, you've got Edge taking on Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match.
I have a feeling this match is not going to happen.
Ooh, really?
I think that Edge gets taken out of the ring before he gets a chance to. I know Rich brought this up on 607 TWS last night on twitch.tv/607podcast. Why is this match happening at Crown Jewel and not at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view?
I mean, I've got my speculations, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's why I said, I don't think they'll do it here, or would they... We've never had a Hell in a Cell get ran back that close to close.
Well, the thing of it is I'm looking it up. Hell in a Cell actually already took place. It took place back in June at the I'm already blanking what they used to call it, Thunderdome, where it was Drew versus Bobby Lashley. So that you had that going on, but the run of pay-per-views that listed according to the Wikipedia pages, you've got Crown Jewel taking place, then you've got Survivor Series in November. You've got nothing in December, it would appear. And then you've got Day 1, which is, I guess, what they're calling their New Year's Day card with Raw and SmackDown. And then you've got the Royal Rumble in January.
You know what? I'm always thrown off when they do the schedule jump around.
Yeah.
You are right about it. How bad is it that I've already forgotten about Hell in a Cell?
Yeah.
It's something about now being in front of live fans. It's just kind of hit the reset button.
So, yeah, also of note, Hell in a Cell being in June was also the second time in the event's history it was not held in October.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was so used to doing it. So, Wow, great call on that, Pat. Either way, I mean, this could happen. This will probably be a brutal match if it goes down.
It should be good. I mean, Edge and Seth obviously have a very good, good work with each other.
Yeah.
It should be great. Hopefully there's no goddamn red light because certain people aren't there, but
No, there won't be any red light.
I gotta say, I did love Rollins' call out on Friday this past week, where him talking about his history with Hell in a Cell matches. He goes, "Listen, things happen with folks that face me in Hell in a Cell. 2 of them aren't here anymore."
He's not wrong.
Seth is a great fucking heel, and I saw that and I went, "Oh my god."
He is fantastic as a heel. I think that we all have to admit that.
Yep.
But it should be a great match. That'll probably be the match of the night.
Oh, easily. Next up, you've got for the Raw Tag Team Championships, RK Bro, so that's Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, defending their belts against AJ Styles and Omos.
I don't care about RK Bro. I really don't. I'm sorry. I've tried giving the benefit of the doubt. I can't wait for Randy to really turn on him and turn.
Yeah.
So they're going to retain. I'm just now kind of waiting to see what they're going to do with AJ and Omos if they're going to split them up. I can see that happening.
I think that's going to happen down the road. So I think AJ and Omos are going to win here. That'll split up RK Bro. They'll have a match at Survivor Series or maybe even the Rumble, or Day One, whatever the hell it is. But then I think eventually down the road you'll have AJ and Omos lose the belt. That'll split them up, and then they'll have a match at Mania.
I'd be okay
because
with that.
if the business or corporate people are with WWE are as over it with Omos as reports say they are, what better way to give him a rub than to have him face AJ for his first WrestleMania match?
That's true. That's a good call, Pat. I'll go with you on that one.
And then next up, you have, and possibly the least anticipated matchup of the night, the no-holds-barred match between Bobby Lashley and Goldberg.
I don't give a shit.
Is this match? We're not going to go over the match. I just want to ask you one question. Will this match go over 5 minutes?
I hope not.
Okay.
My perfect scenario is Lashley spears him as he's walking in the ropes. I'm sorry, I don't care about seeing Goldberg.
There's going to be some weird shit at the start of this. This match isn't going to go long.
No, I just, like I said, I hope Lashley hits him with a very, very hard move, takes him out, and it's done. Like whether he immediately gets in there and gets him into. Maybe it would be cool if he actually used the jackhammer on him.
Okay.
Just does it out of nowhere. Like Goldberg just completely taken out of it. Like that's what I said. I want to see some kind of crazy move that just Lashley knocks him out in the first minute.
If Goldberg beats Lashley faster than he did Lesnar, I'm gonna fucking lose it and laugh.
Yeah, that's what I hope, because I don't care about seeing Goldberg. I don't. I mean, that's how fired up I'm getting about this.
I cared about Goldberg when he first came back because I didn't get to see him wrestle because, as I've said before, I didn't start watching wrestling until WrestleMania 30, so I never got to see Goldberg. So when Goldberg first came back, I know when we were, I was watching with you, Dog, and some others, you all were like, "Oh God, I don't want to say." I'm like, "Yo, I'm fucking here for it." Like, I never got to see him. Like, I was in the same boat as his son. Never got to see him wrestle. But now I'm like, all right, I've seen it.
Yeah, like I said, at this stage in the game, he shouldn't wrestle. I just don't care. And he looks old, and he shouldn't be in the ring. I'm sorry.
The match with Taker at the One Crown Jewel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those were one of the worst wrestling matches I've ever seen in my life. So I don't want to see it. Like I said, I just want to see Lashley hit him with some kind of crazy. Even if he used the F5, I'm now naming out crazy things I want to see Goldberg get hit with. That's how bad I don't want to see this. Hell, I would be all right if he hit him with
Selena Del Sol.
Yeah, if he
Can you imagine if Goldberg hits Lashley with a Selena Del Sol?
I'd mark out like a madman. God. I just want to see, even if he does the Braun Strowman running power bomb, I'd be okay with
power slam.
Whatever, a series, I take it. That's how much I don't care about seeing this match.
Yeah. Next one up though should be real fucking good. This is for the SmackDown Women's Championship match, and this is a triple threat between Becky Lynch defending her belt against Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
This is going to be a great match.
Oh, they're in for a treat with this one.
I don't know how you call this a winner because it's the SmackDown title, right?
This is true.
I got to give credit to Rich. Rich brought this up on 607 TWS. He says Sasha because the other two are on Raw.
That's true, but then you also I think, is Charlotte still the champion for Raw?
Yeah, so
Charlotte would have to relinquish, and then they have a tournament or something for the championship. Yeah, I can see that.
See, I'm going to say Becky does, but I'm going to say they just do the belt swap. Between her and Charlotte.
They've done that in the past. Yeah. What was it? The New Day and the Usos did that.
Yeah, that's what I just see happening with this one. So I'm going to say Becky wins by shenanigans.
Yeah, I could see that, especially since, the triple threat, there's always some sort of shenanigans going on.
Yeah, so that'll be my pick for that.
And then you've got for the WWE Championship, Big E defending his belt against Drew McIntyre.
This will be a fun match.
Oh yeah,
Big E wins.
yeah,
Big E wins big.
yeah.
But this will be a fantastic match because they're lining up Drew to take on Roman.
Oh yeah,
over on SmackDown. The minute he got signed over there, like they're going to run back Survivor Series from a couple of years ago.
yeah.
Give it to me.
Yeah, I'm going to say Big E, but not without some shenanigans from maybe Lashley.
Yeah, it could happen.
Lashley wouldn't. I don't think Lashley, in the dirty heel he is, wouldn't miss out on one more opportunity to screw Drew McIntyre out of a belt one more time.
It could happen
Because we got to remember, this card takes place on Thursday. The new drafted rosters officially take effect on Friday.
Okay.
So because the card takes place on, I'm pulling up calendar. Card takes place on the 21st. They said the rosters take effect on the 22nd, which is for Friday Night SmackDown.
Well, that could be interesting then.
Mm-hmm. And then your main event, the match I think everyone is here to see for the Universal Championship match: Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Winner gets Paul Heyman. Listen, that's not the stipulation. That's just what I'm saying.
Well, I'm going to say Roman wins.
Okay.
I think I'm going a little back and forth about this. I think he wins because Brock, seeing Brock back is kind of like he seems happy.
Yeah, he does.
Like him being a face is so weird to me.
Uh-huh. Just that man bun fucking sucks.
Yeah, I mean, him coming out as Thor is just downright scary. So I'm going to say Roman wins just to put a feather in his cap.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where we go from here. I mean, obviously, I think they're building up towards Roman and Drew.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that'll be the next one that they do, but it'll be a long build because that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
But if Lesnar wins, I could see him doing it, but he's going to show up wherever he wants with the belt. Like, I think you'll see some really weird hijinks because he's like, I'm a free agent. I go where I want.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due to one Paul Heyman for sowing some doubt into this matchup because, listen, they booked Roman so strong. He should beat Brock over easily. But you've got Paul Heyman on Instagram in a little bit of a long post hyping up the match, but at the end of the post, he does say, quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I will be walking down the aisle at Crown Jewel with the reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion, and I assure you, I will be leaving Crown Jewel with the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion." He does not say who it is.
That's why Heyman's the best.
Uh-huh.
That's why he's the best. I mean, if he decided to go turn on Roman and join up with Lesnar, I wouldn't be mad about that. Cause, it's Paul and Brock. I mean, you can't be mad about that. I just think Roman winds up winning this somehow, some way.
LOL, Roman wins.
Yeah, but you can't deny the tribal chief. You got to acknowledge him.
Absolutely not.
Yes, you have to acknowledge him. So it should be an interesting card if you are watching that. I know, Pad, you've said that you're planning on...
Yeah, I'm off from work on Thursday. I really got nothing else going on, maybe other than some laundry. So yeah, I figure why not? I'll watch it, Got nothing else going on.
So definitely hit him up at Meslin on Twitter. I know he'll be doing some live tweeting. We'll be retweeting from OD Parlay Hour. So definitely we'll have that coverage going on for that. But lastly, though, we got to touch upon a little AEW. Mm-hmm. They had their big card this past weekend, that they went head-to-head with SmackDown on FS1. The buy-in was on YouTube at 9 o'clock. It was by far and away the best hour of AEW programming over the weekend. So, Pad, you got the numbers ready for that?
Yeah, so on this past Friday, SmackDown, they averaged, and now we got to know, this was on FS1 because it got preempted because of Game 1 of the American League Championship Series between Boston and Houston. They averaged 866,000 viewers, and in the 18-49 demo, they got a 0.24. For comparison's sake, they on some previous FS1 episodes, they did one they did 1.03 million, another one they did 881,000, and then another one, the fourth episode of Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, they did 888,000. So with that being said, everyone's probably wondering, I wonder what happened on old Rampage. Mm-hmm. Rampage did 578,000 viewers, 0.24 in the 18-49 demo. For comparison's sake, this was episode 10. For episode 9, they had 502,000 viewers, 0.17 in the demo. episode 8, they had 622,000 viewers, and they had a 0.25 in the demo. And just for also comparison's sake, since baseball was on at the same time, Game 1 of the American League Championship Series on Fox had 6.136 million viewers and did a 1.40 in the 18 to 49.
Yow. That is a crazy, crazy number. But overall, listen, I understand that the narrative was supposed to be WWE versus AEW.
Mm-hmm.
It should never be that. That is a lot of people that tune in to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
Especially with two teams playing baseball I heard about.
I'd say they're both big wrestling. Well, Boston, big wrestling town. Houston, in a big wrestling state.
Yes. So that being said, the fact they still drew is very noteworthy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're buying into the whole ratings thing, I know that we did a little deep dive on that on 607 TWS this week.
Mm-hmm.
But the main takeaway is which show was better action-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, I thought SmackDown was very good.
Yeah.
I thought the AEW buy-in was the best fight card of the weekend for the hour. If you have never seen Minoru Suzuki wrestle, I think it might have surprised some fans because it was strong style.
Sure.
Definition. I thought Daniel Bryan got knocked out at one point.
Oh.
Legitimately. He took an ass whooping.
Yo.
Even though he got the win, he definitely was wearing the scars of that the next night because he did back-to-back duty. Because they had Lee Moriarty, who made his, I'm pretty sure that was his AEW, Rampage debut, I'll say that at least.
Right.
Who they just announced was officially signed, and if you're not familiar with him, he is fantastic. He is a great addition to that roster. He did wind up losing to Bobby Fish, and those two, the winners of those two matches, fought each other the next night, where Bryan Danielson got the win again. But other than that, I mean, there was a little bit of, I don't want to say a letdown on Rampage. Rampage was not exactly the strongest show.
Sure.
But then again, they're really pushing this whole American Top Team versus the Inner Circle thing, which I'm going to say now I'm putting this out there in the world. Full Gear is going to have Chris Jericho versus Jorge Masvidal.
Is the BMF title on the line?
It should be. I'm going to say it right now. The fact that we're still going on with this, I'm not mad about, because anytime I get Dan Lambert versus Chris Jericho on the mic, I'm there for all day, every day.
I don't watch AEW, but whenever Ken tells me that Dan Lambert cut a promo on AEW, I make sure I go out of my way to find that promo, because Dan Lambert does good work.
Yes, he does. There's only one promo I did not like by him.
Sure.
And that's when he put over AEW.
Sure.
Because I think what happened is he ripped into him too much that somebody pulled him aside and said, you can't go that far.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I had nothing wrong with what he said. I think he's fantastic on the mic. And whatever they're going to wind up doing, I know Junior Dos Santos made his wrestling debut. He didn't look the worst.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be doing this full time either.
No.
It's an interesting feud they're building up. I mean, it's definitely got my attention, and I know Paige Van Zant is definitely looking like the breakout member of American Top Team
good for
coming
her.
to wrestling. And I'm saying this. I want to throw this energy out in the world because I know I tweeted about this. She needs to wrestle Thunder Rosa.
Yo.
I need that match. If you want to do a mixed tag at All Out, I'm okay, or Full Gear, I'm fine with that. Make that happen.
Yo.
ATT versus Inner Circle and just have Thunder Rosa join them. I'm cool with that.
That'd be good.
Putting that energy out there. But it was a lot of really cool action, a lot of great matches this weekend. So definitely, if you haven't checked it out, go check out YouTube. Go support AEW. Go support WWE, because they did a lot of great work this past weekend with Dynamite, Rampage, and the buy-in for AEW and SmackDown on FS1. I believe next week we're back to Fox.
Yes.
So we'll definitely be talking about that in the week coming up here on social media. So definitely hit us up with that hashtag ODPH pod, and let us know what you thought about this past weekend's action, AEW and WWE. Let us know what you think about Crown Jewel. We'll definitely have that conversation with you. And if you're looking for more wrestling content, 607 TWS will be dropping on the 3 Fat Nerds Podcast Network, and it's always up on Twitch, twitch.tv/607podcast. Man, that's a lot of wrestling to talk about. So that being said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Tom from Tom Joe Lou,
This is Matt from Sideroom Sounds.
and you're listening to ODPH Podcast.
Wanna go where no one knows my name, to the desert, the oceans, or the plains. 'Cause I wanna...
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pat, let's round those bases and take the show home.
Got to talk a little bit of baseball because as we record, we are in the midst of playoff baseball. The league championship series are going on over in the National League. You've got the Dodgers taking on the Braves, where Atlanta currently leads 2-0. That game 3 takes place tonight. It's actually going on as we record. The Braves are currently up 5 runs to 2 in the bottom of the 5th. So you got that going on. Game 4 of the American League Championship Series takes place again tonight as we record. That is between Boston and Houston, Boston is currently up 2-1. And let me just say, Boston is putting an absolute whooping on Houston, which, listen, as I said last week, I got no love for either of these two teams. I'm not rooting for either one of them. But, metaphorical gun to my head, I have to pick one. I'd rather Boston over Houston because I cannot fucking stand Houston. Boston's beating the absolute fucking tar out of Houston. They won last night by the final score of 12-3. They've hit like 4 or 5 grand slams in the last 2 games. Houston's pitching is absolutely falling apart, to which I say, ain't karma a bitch?
I am total National League in this.
Yeah, no, listen.
But
yeah.
I respect my rival.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
No, I don't like him.
I downright hate him.
Oh, I do too. But if proverbial gun to my head, I'd rather Boston. But in terms of who I want to see win it all, Dodgers or Braves.
Yep, or just cancel the season. I go for vacant.
Season's over. Also in some baseball news, it was announced today by the New York Yankees and the Yes Network that Aaron Boone is returning as the manager this year for a new 3-year deal with a club option for 2025. What is it? It was said, quote, "We have a person and manager in Aaron Boone who possesses the baseball acumen and widespread respect in our clubhouse to continue to guide us forward," Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner said in a statement. "As a team and as an organization, we must grow, evolve, and improve. We need to get better, period. I know Aaron fully embraces our expectations of success, and I look forward to drawing on his intelligence, instincts, and leadership in pursuit of our next World Series championship." Close quote. Listen, I know I wanted him gone, but I'll give him another shot. Plus, the other thing of it is, too, is there's not a lot of prospects out there in terms of like who they could go out and get as a manager. I know Buck Showalter's name has been thrown out there, but listen, he could end up someplace else. So it's a case of who you got. The players respect him. It's a lot better than some of the names that are already out there. There's not a deep pool of managers out there who are like, oh, you could go get. I can't list off 5 guys that they could go get that are better than Aaron Boone. The field just isn't out there. The Yankees also did in the last week. They fired their. They didn't fire. They didn't
renew.
They didn't renew the contract with their third base coach Phil Nevin, who obviously had the blunder in the playoff game. They also didn't renew the contract of their hitting coach Marcus Thames, which that I feel has been a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I did hear an interesting prospect on the Michael Kay show last week. After we recorded, and I want to run this by you. So you now have a vacancy at the third base coach position. During the season when Nevin was out because of dealing with COVID, which hey folks, as much as you want to shit on the guy, he almost died from COVID.
Yeah.
Almost died from COVID. While he was out dealing with COVID, the bench coach, Mendoza, did fill in at third base coach. So he's already got that experience there. He already knows how to do it. Move him to third base coach. And then for a bench coach, Buck Showalter.
I'm okay with it if Buck wants to go there.
Sure.
That would be the only hang up I would have.
Okay.
Because I think I have to really focus because that's a good pause to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Boone would still be able to manage the team without Buck being over his shoulder and being too much of the backseat driver, so to speak, then I think it could work. I just don't know if Buck would want that role because Buck is usually all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the only pause/question mark I would have.
Sure.
But if he's willing to let Boone manage and not be too much taking charge when Boone should be the one leading,
mm-hmm.
I think then it would work. I think it could go there.
Yeah, because one of the points Michael Kay brought up, and for those who don't know, Michael Kay is the play-by-play voice for the Yankees on the Yes Network, which is the TV network they own. One of the points he brought up is one of the greatest benefits Joe Torre got in his time with the Yankees was having Don Zimmer as his baseball coach.
Absolutely,
as his bench coach. have Buck there. That listen, Buck's a great baseball line. He knows the game inside and out. Have him there to just bounce ideas off of him. The Boone can focus on all the stuff, managerial stuff during the game, but when it comes to maybe some smaller details and possibly some matchups they might want to try or something, Buck can just go, hey, why don't we try this? Again, it's all up to if Boone signs off on it and Buck's okay with it.
Yeah, like I say, if all powers that be that want in on it, make it happen. Like, I am not objecting to it. I just don't know if I'm sitting there watching Buck being willing to go like, okay, I can play second base here.
Yeah.
And not be in the spotlight. That would be my only thing with him because he's, like I say, he's always been an all or nothing guy. So
well, and plus the other thing with it too is, and I think it was either Pete Rosenberg or Don LaGreca brought it up on the Michael K show. Would Boone be okay with it, knowing Buck's there, and that hey, if the leash is short on you and things don't go well, they've already got a manager in waiting behind you.
Well, I think that he has to already be counting his blessings they brought him back because I thought they should have let him go.
Oh, I did too. But, hey, listen, the whole thing about people, whatever, the club, the players respect him. They like him. And let's just face it, there's not a lot of guys out there that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's like Mike Schilt from the Cardinals who just got let go for God knows what reason.
No, like I agree with you. There isn't a lot. Like I would have pulled off a trade to go get somebody. I mean, it's the Yankees.
What's Ozzie Guillen doing these days?
If you could get Ozzie.
Can you imagine him in the New York media?
Oh, I would love it. I would be thriving with that, but I know he has zero interest in that job.
Yep.
But if you can only imagine the headlines. Oh, God.
It'd be so good. Listen, the back page of the New York newspapers would write themselves.
It would write itself. So, I put that karma out there.
No disrespect to the Mets, but the Mets would never see the back page of the New York papers again because of Ozzie.
Ozzie and New York media. Make it happen. For my base, I'll keep it very short and sweet. I got told we should talk about the NHL, so I'm just going to talk Rangers. Obviously, not the best opening night we've had.
No.
5-1 loss to Washington, but they did scrap for an overtime loss against Dallas, and now they put 2 wins back-to-back.
Yeah.
Beating Montreal 3-1, and they did take Toronto to overtime, winning 2-1, so they're currently sitting in second place.
Hell of a game winner last night.
Yes, it was. So I got to say, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Now they're traveling to Nashville on the 21st, Ottawa on the 23rd, and they're home against Calgary on the 25th. So more information, NHL.com, and you can find out everything going on with your teams, and obviously you can just ask us about the Rangers because that's all I'll talk every day, all day. And a little bit of quick UFC news. There is a fight card this week, and we have to make the official announcement, too. It was announced on 6 or 7 TWS. We will be returning for streaming live reactions for UFC on November 6th. That is the Kamaru Usman-Colby Covington card.
Oh, okay.
So until then, we'll just be doing the live tweets, and this week is a fight night with Paulo Costa.
Hey.
We all know him.
Yes.
Taking on Marvin Viatori.
Okay.
So that being said, obviously you're in Adesanya's world. We'll see what happens there.
Facts.
Costa, let's see what you got because you let me down big time the last time, and I've heard a million excuses of why you lost. So this will be a real stiff challenge for him. And Vittori is definitely going to want to make a statement to get back to Adesanya. So should be a solid night of fights. I'm definitely excited to check that main event out. So follow on OD Parlay. I want to give you my live reaction when I catch it. And we can't close this show without talking some locks and leaps now, can we?
No.
So the quick rundown of the standings, and if you're following us on Facebook.com/Ocho Parlay Hour, you know the standings already, but if not, here's a quick update. JT from the East Coast Avengers podcast is sitting in first place with 29 points. Right behind him is the co-host. You know him. His name is Padawan J.
I'm on that ass.
Tied with Mash from Hops Geeks News. So shout out to you guys. Got 25 points. Rich from 3FN is sitting right behind you guys at 24. Evan the Great from the Crossover Collision podcast is right behind too as well. There's such a short gap between first place and third place right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's there with 23 points. Tied at 21 is Joey DiCarlo from the So Wizard podcast. And your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy, who had a perfect week this week. That's how he jumped back up in the rankings. They're tied at 21. I'm right behind them with Jay West from the We Get Dubbed podcast at 19. Mac East from We Get Dubbed and JVD from Crossover Collision are tied at 18. Andy Adams is back at it with 16 points, and coming in last place right now is our guy Brian Wayne from the Cheers to Comics podcast. So that being said, Who you got for this week's Locks and Leaps, Pat?
Well, looking at my lock, I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers, who are currently favored by 9.5 points over the Washington football team. Listen, Kansas City beat Washington, and I would say Green Bay is looking a little bit better than they are. I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers owning, in his own words, Washington. And then for my leap, listen, the Leaps suck this week.
Yes, they do.
There's like 3 teams favored by double digits, and I ain't going near that with a 10.5 foot pole. I'm going to be looking at the Chiefs-Titans game, where currently Kansas City is favored by 5.5. Listen, Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown and Julio looking real good. Kansas City, not so much. I think Tennessee's going to be able to pull off the upset.
I'm with Pat on the leap. The Leaps suck, by the way, this week.
They really do. It's fucking awful.
I have a feeling we might have the first time in Locks and Leaps history everybody takes the leap of Kansas City and Tennessee.
Probably.
I am calling that right now. I would be very surprised if somebody stayed away from this game. But that's going to be the leap of the week right there. I think Tennessee is going to run right through Patrick Mahomes and company. It will be a close game, but I think they're going to run right through them. And for my lock, Lord help me, I'm going against something I don't normally do. I'm taking one of the double-digit favorites.
Hey!
Because I have zero faith in Jared Goff. Zero.
Oh, all right.
And Matthew Stafford is going to be welcoming him back to L.A. I believe the game is home for the Rams.
Yes, it is.
With open arms and touchdowns galore.
Say it to quote Creed, with arms wide open.
Oh, yes. I do like the Rams. I like them big. They're 15-point favorites. I'm dropping stuff because I can't believe I just said that on air.
Yeah, I mean, listen, folks. The Rams are favored by 15 over the Lions. The Cardinals are favored by 17.5 as we record over the Texans. The Bucs are favored by 12.5 over the Bears. These fucking lines suck.
Yeah, these lines are very, very tough. So I'm expecting the field might get very, very tight this week, depending unless somebody wants to take a real gamble and let the dice roll. Either way, you know where to find out about that. Facebook.com/Ocho Parlay Hour. The stats will be posted right there, so you definitely want to keep track of who's going to be taking home the chip this season. So that all being said, the music you heard on this edition of the ODPH is that of Brian Wolf. Now, what have I been saying for weeks, Pad?
He's got new music coming.
He's got new music. We're waiting on him to email it to us. And lo and behold, what came in the inbox this week?
Music.
His brand new single, I Love You Goodbye, which we'll be playing in its entirety at the end of the show. But, Pat, where do I go to find out more about Brian?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. You swing on over to the music section. Check out everything going on with Brian. Everything going on with Shout at the Robots. Everything going on with Second Suitor. Tom Jolu. Yard Party. Floodlands. All the amazing acts that give us their music to play on the ODPH podcast. We can't say thank you enough. They're all fantastic people. Go support the hell out of them. You can also check out the directory, which has links for the ODPH on your favorite podcast provider. And if we're not on there, you got to let us know because we're everywhere. You just type in ODPH and we pop right up. But if you want to take the step out of there, you're like, okay, I listen to the ODPH on Stitcher. We got the link right there. I listen to the ODPH on Spotify. The link is right there. I listen to it on Apple Podcasts. The link is right there. You get the deal by now. That's why you swing on the directory, and it's all at your fingertips. Also, at odphpodcast.com, you check out the classifieds, which have friends of the show. And I have to make a special plug for our guy, Brian Wayne. Because, Pat, do you know what he did this week?
No.
He opened his own online comic shop.
Hey.
So if you want to shop Cheers to Comics, and I hope you do, because they're in the liner notes about this, you go to the friends of the show. You go check out the link right there, and there's a promo code. Use ODPH at checkout. You save yourself 10% just because you listen to the ODPH, and you go shop comics from Brian. It's a win-win. That's all at the Classifieds, which has other friends of the show, too. It has organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter. It has all the amazing pod groups we are in via their Podchaser pages. So shout out to the Podlips, shout out to the Inner Circle, and shout out to our friends over at 8122 Productions, Rich, Ron, Mike C., and the birthday boy himself. Happy birthday, Big Natty Cool.
Hey.
Diesel.
Oh, boy. That birthday's going to get out of control.
It's going to get out of control, so definitely when you hear this podcast, hit him up at Big Natty Cool on Twitter. Drop him a birthday wish. He's an awesome dude, so we definitely want to give him the shout-out from the whole ODPH panel. All that, the TeePublic store, Parlay Points, new blogs coming out this week, so much more, odphpodcast.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J,
fuck the Astros.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. For more of me, check out So Wizard this week, too, by the way. We'll see you next time.
Sometimes I lay awake at night, wondering what life would be like if you weren't taken before your time. The lessons you taught me, try to remember, try to engage. Sometimes it feels just like